What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring everyone to live better, love better, look better, feel better, make better decisions if you work in a prosecutor's office, whatever it might be. And our Thursday night show, brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting this weekend. Lose World Cup games with me. I'm taking a just complete bath right now. It's beyond ridiculous. Spain to me, I had them tied up in 47 different parlays that went south. So there's that. But it's also a lot of fun. Download the app, play the games. The Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, how you doing, man?
I am never going to financially recover from this.
What's up, buddy? You know what made me laugh since the last time we did a show? That we put out on Twitter, or you did anyway, the options for the new shirts for Christmas. And you did like 4 of your kind of sayings and then 4 of mine, I guess. But you put in the David Ortiz, your David Ortiz impression.
This is my fucking city.
I mean,
I was
does
trying to.
anyone, please, I know that there was a vote, but I don't know
There
how
were a
this
few
Twitter,
votes. There were like hundreds of votes.
I need to know who the fuck wants a David Ortiz. This is my fucking city, dude. Listen, Treese will make them. It's no problem. I just need to know who you are.
No, so here's what happened. And I should have just done appreciate you or something like that, or we'll fix it in post. Other suggestions people had,
got
because
a stupid looking face.
Those are really good suggestions. And I was just trying to think it in the spot, and I needed a 4th one for that particular poll, and I was like, what else do we say?
You could throw a tennis ball at the soundboard and hit 5 better shirt ideas. It just made me laugh. That's why you're the best. Because I'm sitting there looking at him like, did he put his David Ortiz impression thing? We could have like an outline of Big Papi. I mean, I don't know. If people want it, I just need to know who it is, because those Twitter polls, I just don't know if they just give 12% or 2% to one of them, but
No,
random votes.
It's not random.
If someone just absolutely slipped or accidentally slipped and hit the
I mean, because hold on, there were like 100 in that particular one. There were 125 votes, and I didn't retweet it from my own account, so I just did it from the Couch and the Rube account because I wanted, I didn't want people to fuck with us. I just wanted it to be our core audience,
right?
And
because there's no way they could find the Couch and the Rube show.
No, but they might not. We're less likely to get fucked with. In other words, and so. Yeah, so 6% of 125. So you're talking like 7-8 people.
All right.
Wanted that.
Let us know who you are. We'll put it up on the website, and you can order them, and we'll get them out to you if you want. Well, this is my fucking city.
I don't know if we're going to do that one. I mean, the idea was we're only going to do like
here's the
4 or
thing.
5,
They're
right?
made to order.
Okay.
So we can put them on the website. Treese is creating the website. We're going to have it up hopefully by tomorrow, and you can start ordering on there, and we can start making them when we get back in town next week. So. Okay. All right, sounds. We're going to Nashville this weekend, so we can't make any this weekend. But if you want to, we can have them on there. It doesn't mean we have to. We don't buy them beforehand.
All right. So, Don't Coach My Team won that. So, by the way, Don't Coach My Team seemed to be popular.
Don't Coach My Team.
And then the Couch of the Rube playing. Are we done? Is that the end of the
show? Where's the other one?
Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Where's the other one?
I don't know what the other one is.
3 Ubers.
No, the Izzo one. Oh, I didn't.
Why don't you write something?
Oh, there we go.
Why don't you write something, huh? Why don't you write something?
I hate that one.
Have the legend on the shirt.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got a lot to get into today with your groovy donut Twitter questions. Fantastic stuff. We're going to get into the story of the day, and whatever
Bills
that might be.
Patriots tonight, you mean?
That's it.
Oh yeah,
Bills Patriots.
Damn Amazon, we can't get here.
I just came from I swung by a friend's Hallmark Christmas movie party. It's like a theme party where you play Hallmark Christmas bingo.
Holy shit! You live a different life.
Yes, it's great. But there was this. What was amazing is there was this.
It makes my balls hurt.
The first scene, and there's this architect who was living a very disheveled existence in their office, and all I could think about was the Washtenaw County District Attorney. Like, this is what it must look like. These sort of problems.
You were the whitest man alive. Who knows anyone besides you that knows a Hallmark party?
Well, the other people in the
I know those people.
It's the person who throws it's the wife of Matt Wenzel, so he was there from M Live, who covers Michigan State football. Yeah,
good guy.
Although he takes, to be fair to him,
I have
he
a
takes
feeling
no part.
Matt just goes along with it.
Not even that. He's like in another room, not wanting anything to do with it. Like, I would go in the other room to talk to him.
I like Matt even more now.
That was all right. Before we dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions, as we do every Thursday, what we are betting this weekend, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
I'm doing a little parlay here. We talked with Harry. I kind of changed my mind on one of the picks, but I'm taking USC money line against Utah. TCU, I like that money line, and I'm taking Purdue. Now it's up to 17. I like the plus 17. Parlay plays it pays, plus 453.
Okay.
That's what I'm betting.
Because I have not lost enough money on soccer, I am going to continue losing money on soccer.
Why not? It has to turn at some point.
I don't know if it does. The World Cup's going to end soon, and it may not turn in time. Today was a bath of all baths. Today was one of the worst days there is, because I was genuinely happy for Japan, like, to watch that sort of upset and to watch them advance and to watch their fans like in tears and to see what it meant to a country. That's a really cool experience. And yet I had so much writing on Spain. I was like, this sucks. Okay, I like the value on the money line with the U.S. against the Netherlands. I do not think the Netherlands are that much better than the United States, and it's plus 321. Plus you get to root for the United States. It plus 321. That, to me, is good value. I'm going to take it. If you lose it, you lose it. You're betting an underdog at plus 321, who I think is a pretty – I don't think it's that big a deal. I also think Argentina in the knockout stages will be way too much for Australia, minus 580. So I'm going to parlay that with England at minus 197 against Senegal, and France minus 380 against Poland, and Poland sucks. And start there, and that three-team parlay separate from the USA. So it's USA and then that three-team parlay of favorites is what I am betting this weekend.
It's not confusing whatsoever.
No, and you two. Well, no, it's USA money line.
Okay,
and then a separate parlay.
All right,
with France on the money line, England on the money line, and Argentina on the money line. And those three is favorites.
And you have to hit one of these eventually, right?
I've hit some. I really rolled it up on Spain. It was like, cool, I'll just throw Spain into everything. And I did not see. And
you still felt good for the opposing team after that. I don't know. You're a better man than me.
Yeah, we'll see how badly I spite bet people going. And Spain still advanced, so I still have them to win the for a bet to win.
How much
the
longer
whole thing.
Do we have the World Cup?
Till like a week before Christmas. It's going to go for a while.
Great.
So, yeah, you can bet those, Jason's games, my games, at the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. They have cool promotions when you sign up, daily odds boost, some really cool stuff going on there. Or, you know what, a fun World Cup experience just to go down to Firekeepers, to Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook. Jason and I have been there. It's a really cool experience. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, catch all the college football. You can be there for the USA soccer game at 10. Just stay throughout the college football. You just spend the night there and do the NFL on Sunday. It could be a hell of a weekend for you at Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook. All right, should we dive into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Absolutely. Eric Schultz, of course, up first. After a season that had more coaching red flags than any since the John L. Smith era, you do understand that saying if MSU gets 14 4-stars, the narrative is that there is okay, is a ludicrous statement, right?
Eric with a rare typo there, and that is that's my bad. I should
move
have
him down.
That. Yeah, sorry. Eric's usually so good that I barely check his, and
sorry,
that's not everybody, to be honest. And I would appreciate if everybody got to be like Eric in their
we're pushing our luck here.
Yeah, no, sorry. So he's basically saying the narrative that if MSU gets 14 4-stars in the recruiting class, they'll be okay is a ludicrous statement, since there have been this many coaching red flags. Here's the thing. I don't know if that's – I mean, I obviously disagree to some degree, because the question is, how serious are the red flags? And there have been some coaching mismanagement. There have been some issues this year that didn't exist a year ago. There's no question that I think Mel Tucker needs to take stock of where he has weaknesses and find people who complement him on his staff, and that can be done as well. But I think the recruiting game for him is a huge, huge part of this. It's why he's making the money. It's why they went after him. And so they've never had that many 4-stars. I want to see what it looks like with Mel Tucker, with anybody coaching the team. I want to see what a Mel Tucker team, when they have the horses, looks like. And so I think there is a chance they're okay if they start to bring those sort of classes in. But that's a big question mark.
Next one from Eric. Speaking of recruiting, it's officially December, and MSU has just 12 kids pledged, third least in the Big Ten, 7 less than they've had this time a year ago. Should we be worried?
I don't know. That's not a great answer, but it does seem
so.
Like,
yes.
I mean, yes.
If you can't definitively say no, then I guess yes. Then.
Right. It's a low number. I expected them to have more. I don't know if them being picky is the right move or not. I guess we'll find out. The other thing to remember is December 21st is the first signing day. There's another in February. You don't have to finish your class in December. So if they sign 17 in December and they're going after, the one thing I wonder about Mel Tucker, and I have not talked to him about this, but I think Mel is thinking there are going to be a lot of late flips, a lot of kids who feel that things went south with their NIL promises or where they really wanted to be, and that January period may be an opportunity more than it was a year ago, more than it was pre-NIL. I could be wrong on that, but that's just reading the tea leaves from some conversations I've had with him.
So you shouldn't be worried then?
I don't know. I don't know if they can pull that off. I'm saying at the end of the day, I could see why this would be a problem, and I could see why they'd be okay.
But if he's waiting, that's the gamble that can either pay off, or is this another 4 or 5 win season next year?
Well, but these kids won't impact next year a ton anyway. So the real thing is, if you're Mel Tucker and you know this, that your tenure is predicated on recruiting at a level that Michigan State has never recruited on, you cannot settle if you're going to get there, then this may be a gamble that's worth it. But it does, to Eric's point, seem like a low number.
Next one from Eric. How do you spend 15 minutes on Peyton Thorne and not mention that he throws the ball so effing late and doesn't go through progressions? And if I hear, quote, offensive line, end quote, again, I'm going to lose it. You want me to list all the terrible squads who scored more versus Big Ten teams than MSU did? You know I'll do it.
Yeah, Eric is way down on Peyton Thorne compared to me. I think he's okay. I would like to see him, what he would look like with a better team.
But you have to mention the offensive line a little bit, right?
Oh, you just did that. He's going to lose it.
I'm just saying, don't lose it, Eric.
Yeah, look, there are things about Peyton Thorne that have not developed as well as I thought. And what I don't know is how much of that is related to what's been around him, how much of that's coaching, how much that's just his own limitations. It's hard to ever know with that. And guys, sometimes if guys don't wind up in the right situation, they just never develop and it doesn't matter. Like, I always think of a guy like Josh Rosen, who was like the 10th pick overall. If that guy had wound up with like Bill Belichick as a rookie and gotten to sit behind Tom Brady, he might be an NFL starter right now. Instead, he bounced around, got discarded right away, and never became anything.
But Peyton Thorne, you can say he had weapons, right? I mean, Keon Coleman, Jaden Reed, 2 giant tight ends. I mean,
that's fair. And he had more weapons than, say, Andrew Maxwell, who at the time, the year that he struggled, had guys who were just dropping passes.
Poor Andrew Maxwell. He's always the
he's the punchline.
Benchmark.
Yeah, he's not. It's not.
Sorry.
Feel bad, but he was a guy that was. I mean, his ceiling turned out to be a lot lower than people thought, but he was also making progress and then lost his confidence and never got it back. And so you do wonder about that.
Next one from Eric. You understand that if next year is bad for MSU, it means Mel Tucker most likely isn't the guy, right? Good coaches don't follow up a terrible year and multiple red flags with another terrible year, especially when they've now got a good chunk of their guys on the roster.
All right, we're going to make this our Cosmic Fries question of the day, presented by Hopcat, the best damn beer bar, world famous Cosmic Fries, formerly known as Crack Fries, which I think was just as apt a name. Mouth-watering, award-winning burgers, including the aforementioned Peyton Thorne, who has his own burger there, which is absolutely fantastic. 2 smashed patties with American cheese, bacon on a sunny side egg up, served on a pretzel bun with the Cosmic Fries, and each location with carefully curated craft beer list partnered with local partners, and that is one of the coolest things. Again, feels like a local bar wherever you are, whether you're in Indianapolis, East Lansing, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, anywhere in Washtenaw County, really. And we'll get to that. If you're at a Hopcat, although they only have one in Washtenaw County, it will feel like a local pub. You go to hopcat.com to see where the nearest Hopcat location is to you. So the basic question here is, what Eric's saying is that you cannot have the red flags that we've seen from Mel Tucker have this year and have another bad year, even if the roster is still developing, and have him be the guy. Do you believe that they can have a year next year where they're 6-6? If he recruits well now, if he recruits well next year, he can still eventually be the guy.
Yeah, but what kind of 6-6 season is it? Is it kind of like this year where it's kind of frustrating the coaches? You sit there and want the coaches on the hot seat, or is it 6-6 where they compete with teams and you kind of see improvement from game to game? There's a different 6-6, I believe. I
agree with that. I think you can have a year next year where it just looks more competent.
You can't have these Indiana games.
Or the Minnesota games. Yep. And because it's not that you can't have those if you're recruiting well, it's that eventually, if that's truly who Mel Tucker's and his staff are, his coaches, that'll bite you, that your ceiling is lower than you want it. You can recruit to a certain level, but you will be, before Clemson became Clemson under Dabo in its peak years, people used to call things Clemsoning, right? Because it was Clemson always had these good teams that just, screwed it up. And you don't want to be that. You don't want to be pre-Dabo Clemson. And that's what, you worry about, sort of the ceiling of a team. If you're constantly making mistakes, you're having that one game, and you don't manage the clock.
And also, what are going to be the changes to the coaching staff in the offseason if he doesn't make a move and they go 6-6?
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. More Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Last one from Eric Schultz. Does the man bra happen if MSU fails to reach 20 wins in the regular season? Does it include the Big Ten tourney? If it's regular season, Graham needs 12-8 in Big Ten play. That's no gimme, Graham. And from Alex James, over or under 12.5 Big Ten wins for MSU basketball?
Well, fuck, over now. That's what it's better be over. No, I don't. I think we were pretty detailed on what the parameters of the bet were. We'll have to go find that, because was it NCAA tournament or was it 20 wins? Like after the Big Ten tournament, I think we explained it pretty good, and I want to make sure we have it right.
Regular season.
Was it 20 wins or was it NCAA tournament, though? I don't know if it was 20 wins. Was it?
I thought it was 20 wins.
Okay. If it's that, if I said 20 wins regular season, not including the Big Ten tournament.
Someone let us know.
I
have no idea.
I'll have to go back and figure out when that was. I would love to. We do have to figure out the parameters, because I'm going to do everything I can to squirrel out of this if it gets tight. So,
well, we're not rooting for it.
Right.
We don't really win.
Right. Good point.
Maybe for just a day, I guess. Dominic next. Making sure I got this right, so correct me if I missed something. Larry Nasser was indicative of a cultural problem at MSU that was perpetuated by both Tom Izzo and Mark D'Antonio. Bo Schembechler threatens his players with getting raped by Dr. Anderson and Jim Harbaugh, and Desmond Howard publicly states that they don't believe the victims because that's not the Bo they knew. Dead story. Devin Bush tramples on the Spartan logo because in roided rage, the team smears feces all over the locker room walls. MSU incurs a fine. MSU gets a $100K fine on the backs of Harbaugh's pearls and prosecutor with a navy blue penis. Alas, my question, Graham. You're fair with everyone. You're a reasonable fucking dude. Do you realize that it's impossible to try to convince MSU fans that media coverage in the state on a whole isn't fucked?
So I do think today that the Detroit Free Press, which I believe was out front with the story with David Jesse, with the Detroit News, have both been
Why don't you write something, huh?
Have been pushing this story, have been reporting it, have been getting a hold of the people in the story, not just Michigan and Eli Savitt, the Washtenaw County prosecutor for the story with Mazi Smith. And for those, if anybody's been living under a rock, the story is Mazi Smith was pulled over, for speeding, and the Freep was the one who uncovered the police report, and had a gun in the car, didn't have his license or the gun registered, may or may not been in the process of getting the gun licensed. And basically this all came out today with the charges being released, a felony charge for gun possession. So,
but didn't someone find this out on Twitter?
Well,
first,
people knew there was something out there, but there was no charge. There was no, so there really wasn't a great record. It wasn't like people were just sitting on it. It's not like David Jesse is sitting there. David Jesse is a pretty dogged reporter.
Do you know how many articles I read about L.J. Scott's parking tickets? I'm sorry, Grin. There's no way you could spin this. It's wild. There's no way. I know that you want to defend your people, but there's something to this.
How many stories did we write about L.J. Scott's parking?
There's a lot of L.J. Scott that was talked about endlessly.
Okay.
His parking tickets and how many he's got over 25 ticket part. It's just this is a felony we're talking about. This is a misdemeanor.
Well, we'll get into this with a lot of people here, but this is a situation.
We'll get into it right now. I'm not going to. What are we going to wait for?
Well, very specific questions about different elements of it. We got like 84 of these, man.
Well, I know, but we just move on. To Dominic's point, there are elements within the Detroit media that definitely, and I think major columnists at the News and Free Press for sure lean U of M. It is Wojo. It is Mitch Albom, and you mostly see them at Michigan games. They mostly seem to care more about that university, and that is a problem, and that feeds into this narrative for sure. And then there are incidents. There are things that, if you go back to the Larry Nassar situation with Mark D'Antonio, that wasn't a Detroit media thing with Izzo and Mark D'Antonio being lumped in. That was an ESPN national media, and the way those two stories were conflated, and that's a separate thing. Like the Freep didn't even cover. The Freep did not. The Detroit Free Press let the Lansing State Journal, without getting in our way, forever, for like more than a year, cover the Larry Nassar story. That is not on the Freep. That was us working together in conjunction. And there are situations. I do think the Bo Schembechler legacy thing is a weird deal, that it hasn't been like the people are even still able to say Bo's name there is a positive legacy is kind of fucking ridiculous at this point, given the information that's out there and the questions that have been had. And I think that's a problem, that every time it happened, it's not like, what the hell, man? But I also think those stories are, when you have a dead doctor and a dead former coach, and it's men, it's different than young women giving victim impact statements on national television in front of a doctor who's still alive right there. Like, just in terms of the television and the media and the what was created as a national story, just very different. And it was always going to be different. And that's not on the Detroit media, because the national media chose not to make this a story. That's not on the Detroit media. Does that mean there aren't situations where I understand that it feels very different the way MSU and Michigan is covered? Absolutely. There are, and I think the Detroit papers need to be careful about that, and probably need to push their two lead columnists to make sure they are balanced on that. But some those stories are a little different. They feel a certain way, but if you look where what drove the way you feel about those, and who were the news organizations that really drove the narratives, that wasn't, I don't believe, really a Detroit deal when you look back at the Nassar and the D'Antonio Izzo thing and the way those were conflated. Maybe next. Does the MSU basketball team have an issue with slow starts?
This is what I love about the show. You can go from that to that. Although we could have gone in any order. I just chose to go with this one next. They have an issue. They have some issues that we've seen. They have issues putting away games as much as they do slow starts.
This was bound to happen, right?
I mean, right now they just have an issue with healthy bodies and talent. They're just not better than people when they're down Malik Hall and Jaden Akins, to the point that, and what happened yesterday was bound to happen. I mean, I have my own, like, to me, if, like, Cormac Ryan makes his first 6 threes.
What can you do about that, I guess?
Well, I have a thing. Like, if I was a coach, I would have a rule. We don't get beat by a white guy hitting threes. Like, until he does something else to beat us. Lock his ass up. That man is on a Division I scholarship for one reason, And I don't care if you have to punch him in the gut or the kidney or the throat or shadow box him, whatever you got to do. You do not let a guy named Cormac beat you from 3. Number 1 rule. And I would look at my bench and I'd say, if any of you can shut him down, you'll start the next game. But that's
if
my own.
If you name your kid Cormac, when do you start to prepare him for getting his ass kicked at school?
Well, if he's good enough at basketball and you send him to Notre Dame, maybe he gets okay. He's got to be lucky athletically.
Name him Cormac.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an issue with slow start. I just don't think we've seen them with their full complement of players play enough games yet to know if that's an issue or not.
Call me Al next. Are Harbaugh and Ward Manuel so isolated that they can't see the optics of this, or do they just not care about being hypocrites?
So there are 3 people in this that, like, Mazi Smith, I don't want his life to be ruined because of this, just like the Michigan State players shouldn't have their lives ruined because of a mistake. There has to be
no one's asking for that.
Correct. There has to be some level of accountability. But it's ultimately about the comparison, right? And so the problem is that you have 3 people here that I think you have to look at. There are 3 common denominators in the 2 stories. And they're Harbaugh, Ward Manuel, and the prosecutor, Eli Savit. And the prosecutor is the one who deserves the most scrutiny here. Because, and he put this on himself, it's not just Go Blue on the Twitter profile. It's the number of the tweets that really, he is an open Michigan fan who looks like a fanboy for Michigan. And that's you shouldn't do that when you're in a situation and a state as divided as people are, where you're going to have to manage cases that could be like this. There could be
but why not do it? No one's going to do anything about it, apparently.
Well, people are on him right now like crazy. I mean, he's got a ton of heat. I mean, what do you mean nobody's going to do anything about it?
I don't know. I just feel like, is anyone going to do anything about it?
What do you want them to do? Like, what are you saying? Nobody's doing anything. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, so my point being, like,
I don't know. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
I'm sorry.
You appear like you're. And I don't know.
I got intense there. I apologize. I don't even give a shit about any of this stuff. Like, to me, it's really hard for me to be like, I see people so upset, and I'm like, are you that upset about?
They have a valid complaint to be upset because this thing happened in October, and the guy continued to play 7 fucking games. So
right.
Why can't you be upset about it? And call out the Detroit media by saying, "Listen, are you guys going to cover this shit? Why are you getting outscooped by Twitter? Are you a mouthpiece for the University of Michigan?" That's an easy question to ask.
Well, hold on. Because I'll tell you why. Because Twitter can put something out there without decent sourcing that responsibly the Detroit Free Press and Detroit News cannot. So that's why you're getting scooped by Twitter, by randoms on Twitter who have connections somewhere, is not a loss for the Free Press News. That's being responsible. Often it is. That's going to happen. I think I think there are valid questions and scrutiny for the prosecutor. And I've read the story today by David Jesse on the explanation on why this took so long. The problem is you knew at the same time that this was happening that you had this Michigan State thing going, and for it to drop right after the Ohio State game. I mean, so there are issues there that to me, even if there's nothing that's been done wrong, you have to understand the way people are going to see this, and your own credibility is going to be shot. And when you've tweeted out the things that Eli Savit has tweeted out, maybe you find a way to recuse yourself from the decision and say, this doesn't look great for me. I get that. I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to have my staff handle it. They're going to make a decision.
If Mazi Smith was a walk-on, would you have been suspended?
That's a great question. But the second part is this. If you know this happened, even if you don't know where it's going with an arrest, even if he may have been in the process of getting a permit for the gun, if you're Jim Harbaugh and Ward Manuel, suspend him a game to start. If you suspended him a game initially, and I understand that it's a story, and even if there's but if you suspend him a game initially, there's initially some accountability. And then if you find out more, you're like, okay, there may need to be an additional suspension, may or may not, and you can look at that. But you at least had some initial accountability for, you got pulled over without your license and all that stuff.
You're gonna say that you're about to get your concealed permit if you're caught with a gun without the permit. And what we're saying here is basically, Ward Manuel and Harbaugh said, well, he came to us first. So basically, you catch a felony and you tell the coach first, you can play. It's ridiculous.
Well, and I don't care that much about the actual situation. I don't want Mazi Smith's life to be ruined by, another black kid pulled over by a cop. I don't know what reason.
Why even bring that up? No one's asking for him to get the death penalty here.
What I'm saying is, I don't care about Mazi Smith himself is not the story here. It's how the story is how it was handled. It's Harbaugh, it's Manuel, it's the prosecutors, I believe. And I think the problem with the situation with Harbaugh and Ward Manuel is just how much Jim Harbaugh put into making sure MSU's players were prosecuted, and instead of worrying about his own shop. And it's that pushing towards something that was just unhelpful and unhealthy to the situation when he had his own thing going on that still bothers me a little bit. And look, I'm not a huge Jim Harbaugh fan. That is not even before this. I don't know him personally well enough to say he's not a good dude, but I don't. Man, there are things about him that rub me the wrong way. And the way he's handled this rubs me the wrong way. Ward Manuel, again, don't know the man personally, but there's definitely some hypocrisy, without question, right? I think that's without question.
Some dude next. Graham, I know you're not a lawyer, but that Barnaby Jones look you've been sporting is perhaps affecting me. It's pretty sweet, by the way. Question. At some point, doesn't the conduct of this prosecutor get called into question? Amani Bates gets charged 2 days, and 2 days later, and with the same Amani Bates gets charged 2 days later, and with the MSU tunnel guys experience, while it appears, I don't know what's going on with this. While it appears it's been since October 7th for this Michigan player's felony gun charge, and they wait until just after the Ohio State game. Don't these guys have oversight on the quality of their job performance? I mean, it's not complicated, right? You either have a gun or you don't. No?
Right. Well, the oversight they have is elections, an elected official. And there's an argument that when you look at some of the prosecutors around, that maybe we shouldn't actually elect the prosecutors because we don't always choose the best people in these situations. But, look, this all might be able to be explained, and you're starting to see some of it right now, but obviously, with how gung-ho they were about charges to the Michigan State players and how in the time in which that happened, when this was sort of under wraps the entire time, I think it's at the very best, it's awful optics, and optics matter. And the prosecuting attorney has created these bad optics for himself with his own Twitter account and his own fandom, and that's an issue. Because in this state, we don't trust people on the other side of this rivalry. And it's become so venomous and it's become so awful that, people are obsessed with this right now. And I kind of understand it. Part of me wants to step back and say, man, there's more important shit. There's a million kids who are, put your energy into something else. Like, you're not Mazi Smith. You're not these 8 guys. Like, there's got to be somebody closer to you in your life that could use your energy than this shit. But I also understand when you care about these teams why people are upset, and certainly with what this prosecuting attorney's done here.
Do you think what transpired, like this, has the rivalry gone to another level? Like, I just feel it's more amplified because people that have been rational, that have contacted me and typing in all caps, and they're angry. They're usually rational. I just feel some are just like saying fuck it now.
I think this rivalry makes people unrational, and it's made people more irrational of late.
Yeah.
And I think it's made people angrier of late. And what the problem becomes is if this prosecuting attorney is one of those people. And not even if he doesn't realize his own biases as he's making certain decisions. And again, this may be just the worst timing in the world in terms of what it looks like for him. But it's the worst timing in the world.
Spawn of stout sponsors up next. Straight up, Wire Gannett publications in light of the events the last 2 months, allowing Michigan administration to issue statements and not refusing to publish updates without a public comment with Ward Manuel and Harbaugh, asking them what they knew when and what conversation they had with the Washtenaw County prosecutor.
And I think this came out before some of the other articles that come out that have been pushing for more. And you have to put when a statement's released, you can't ignore it, but you do have to follow up. And I think that's happening. I think there's been a lot of responsible journalism done today on this, and I think the problem that exists is there's such a feeling of distrust and blue wall that a lot of the state doesn't believe that the media has a desire to get to the bottom of it.
Joel Green next. Is Eli Savit still on the Michigan payroll for the law school? How can he not recuse himself from these events then? Never going to vote him out of Washtenaw, so can Big Gretch put on the buffs and go crack a can of state power whoop ass on this unethical scumbag?
Yeah, we'll have to find out if he's unethical here. And what I mean, the fact that these aren't the same situations. I get that. And maybe it's just he may know this. He may, as this came out today, said, this is going to make me look horrible.
Man, I shouldn't have had that in my Twitter bio.
Yeah, it's still in his bio.
Well, why not? You might as well leave it
at this
now.
point. Yeah, roll
Who
it.
knows?
Yeah. No, I mean, somebody in his office should have been there to say, dude, these tweets.
Because everyone in the office
get rid
is
of
go
them.
blue.
Yeah, even if you
Why would
are,
they say anything?
it doesn't matter if you're go blue. Your job has nothing to do with go blue, and this is a professional. This is your Twitter account for you're a prosecuting attorney. Like, don't have those tweets out there. Don't do that. Don't be that guy when you have to be a prosecuting attorney for everybody in your county.
Bo McJunkins next. Will anyone ask Eli Savit the tough questions on this, and will he hide behind some legal clause again? Big credit to Charbonneau, Tony Paul, and Angelique for acknowledging the optics on Twitter.
Yeah, and those questions are already being asked. I mean, they were asked today by David Jesse. That story's up now on the freep.com. It'll be so. Yeah, I mean, those questions are being asked.
Next one from Bo. Delaney giving us a harsher penalty than protocol. Michigan only getting a reprimand when we got fined for Devin Bush. Mazi Smith not being charged for months by Michigan alum. Juwan Howard's team continually in altercations. Can you blame us for feeling that we're treated unfairly?
No, I don't blame. I mean, I don't look, the perception. I would have that perception too. It's
you don't want to be one of those people that sits there and goes, "Why aren't you, going after them?" But it's just at some point you have to go, "Wait, what's going on here?"
Yeah, but in every
Can't
case,
keep taking this shit over and over again.
Every case is its own, and the Big Ten has made it worse recently with some stuff. And no doubt, you want to avoid whataboutism if you can do it, but it's on both sides. I would at this point. I mean, I want this rivalry to go away. I want it gone for 5 years. I don't want to fucking deal with it. I don't want to write about it. There's nothing that makes me want to leave this business more than Michigan State, Michigan, and just, I mean, it's. And there are lots of things within the business that make me want to not do this anymore. But this rivalry is up there because it's just not fun. It's consuming, and it just shows that so many people lose perspective on life of fucking shit that's important. And it's not just fans of this rivalry. Like the people coming after Mel Tucker's salary in my own company and about bonuses and all that stuff. Like, if you want to be an investigative journalist, go be that. Go to another country. Go to a place where people aren't eating. Go to a place where people don't have a place to sleep. There are lots of big stories that need to be done. Mel Tucker's bonuses are not one of them. And if that's what you are choosing to spend your time on, then fuck your life, man. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing with yourself? Like,
we just have to read about people that are hungry all the time? What are you getting at?
I'm what I'm saying is, I don't know where I'm going. I'm annoyed by there's nothing that makes me want to be a sports writer less anymore or sports columnist than doing.
Do you think if it took 5 years off, it would help? Though?
Yes.
I mean, it won't happen, but.
Oh, it would help tremendously because people at some point would miss it and appreciate it. And you would be away long. Yes.
And we come back in 5 years and start it all over again.
Well, and the other thing that would happen is neither side would be able to claim any sort of upper hand because what would happen is, sure, Michigan won the last one and the program was at the top, but Michigan State had won a bunch before that. And it would be sort of this 5 years later, you couldn't lean on history because history would give a nod to both schools to some degree. It would be a totally new situation. Nobody would have any bragging rights. People would absolutely miss the rivalry, and I think it would be it would find itself in a healthier place. 5 years is what I'd love to see away from it. They do not play. As soon as we get rid of the divisions, that's it.
Next one from Bo. Why, after every time Hunter Dickinson scores, he celebrates and flexes like a Make-A-Wish kid? Kid got away with multiple shoves against Virginia, too.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I mean, I know I want to say he's a young guy.
He isn't likable, we'll say that.
He does have some unlikability to him if you're not a Michigan fan. There's no question about that. He's got that to him. He's got a stupid-looking face. I didn't say it.
Chris Fletcher. Is that your voice, though? Chris Fletcher, are we overreacting to MSU's Notre Dame loss? There's clearly going to be games where shots just aren't falling, and State is many opponents' Super Bowl, which is a good thing. Only 8 turnovers last night, and AJ's demeanor was much better better than at the PK. We shouldn't panic yet, right? Right?
No, entirely not panic. Because here's the thing is, you're just not playing with a full squad.
That loss was bound to happen.
Absolutely bound to happen. Well, it was.
I love that shit.
It was bound to happen. I mean, it's better than
that was disgusting last night. I don't give a shit who was hurt, whatever. It's fine. Notre Dame shot the lights out, but
it's look, yeah. Look, if Michigan State had their full complement of dudes, I think they would have had athletic advantages to be able to avoid that sort of night. They don't, and that makes it a make or miss game. And that they didn't make shots, and Notre Dame did. The crowd got into it. You know, you got to try and limit those games every year to 1, 2, 3 at the most, where you get blitzed on the road.
Just one.
One will work for you.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should overreact to it. I don't. If they had everybody, and they hadn't played the stretch they just had, then I would say you could react a little differently to it.
Next one from Chris. More insufferable announcing team. Roxy and Uncle Bill at the PK, or the Gus Johnson wannabe and his color guy from Wednesday night? And from Steve. Does ESPN realize that Dick Vitale, Bill Walton, Lee Corso, and Desmond Howard are completely out of touch and cause fans to tune out? I like that Desmond Howard's coupled with a bunch of 80-year-old guys, though. People really don't like Bill Walton, huh? I guess it's maybe because I'm 43 and I love Bill, but I can see how he could be hateable.
So my thing with Bill Walton is I don't mind him at midnight when it's not my team. I think it's
gambling, sprinkling a little bit on the midnight game.
Yeah, I think it's annoying when it's your team. And if I was out west and I was like, oh God, I got Walton again. And I think Michigan State fans are starting to feel that at the PK 80 because like Walton repeated and they've had him several times this year, and it's like, okay. I mean, because he doesn't actually call the game. So if you care about the game, it's not a great experience, I don't think.
Chris, so who's more insufferable then? I would say Roxy and Uncle Bill, or I don't know, Gus Johnson wannabe. Who was that guy?
Yeah, I don't
know who it was.
I'm not a Gus Johnson fan, so
no.
He's
very good at his job.
Yeah,
right. He's kind of like Dan Dockich for me. They could be really good at their job. Gus Johnson crying at the Bo statue was something else. I can never get that out of my head.
There are a few things he does once in a while that annoy me. That drive. Yeah, I try to look at when you answer a question like this, it's
Joe Klatt.
When you know they're doing a game, which person do you go? Ugh? And Gus is kind of that guy for me.
It's Klatt too. I think the coupling of Klatt and Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
Oof. Next one from Chris. More punchable face, Mo Wagner or Hunter Dickinson?
He's got a stupid looking face.
Ram, Jesus, man.
All right, so
it's easily Hunter Dickinson.
Is it? Okay.
And I don't know if this is like recency bias, but yeah,
I think it would
I don't remember Mo Wagner really, but
I'd never thought of Hunter Dickinson as like a punchable face.
Oh
so
my God!
You think of it that way?
Haircut he's got now, and he does that flexing thing. He's just a herb. It's not his fault, I guess.
But here's the question: if you're a neutral, like if you're not a Michigan or Michigan State fan,
you'd pick Hunter Dickinson out. You'd say,
without
give
question.
me one person that you don't like who has a punchable face.
That's fair. Okay.
Chris Eastlick next. Mel Tucker probably won't tell, but is it possible to ask what they're doing in practice that there are still so many guys getting injured when they haven't been hitting?
Yeah, I mean,
is it more like lingering injuries or?
Yeah, it's just late in the year these guys are beat up. I think it's from the games is when they're getting hurt. And you're not. And there's an argument to be said that when you don't hit in practice, that you wind up with more injuries. It's like some of the coaches, the NFL coaches from yesteryear, when they used to have like 2 days hitting in training camp, will say your bodies were just more hardened than they are today when you don't do that in training camp, and that's why there are more injuries. I don't know if that's true. Probably a lot more guys getting hurt in training camp before in the old days, so I don't know if that's 100% fair, but I'm sure there are some advantages here and there to that stuff. I don't know. And we probably won't talk to Mel Tucker until signing day, December 21st, the next time he's available. So just keep that in mind.
Next one from Chris. Why does Mel Tucker seem like such a cheap target when it comes to things like his contract, the Alan Haller bonus decision, and other things? It seems like he is constantly under scrutiny by national outlets.
Yeah, there's a couple components here. One, I think, is there's undoubtedly some racial undertones to some of it. And
what?
You don't think so with the
I think they talk about Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M getting ripped off.
Yeah,
Cristobal. I mean,
I think.
I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't view it that way. If someone looks at it as a racial thing, I don't think of it that way.
And that's fair. I mean,
if Mel Tucker came out and said he felt that way, then I would agree, and then I would back him for that. But I just don't. I think they're making that up.
I think there are people who feel that way. I think there are people who feel that it's coming for a black man's money, so to speak.
No.
And maybe that white writers need to be aware that that's a perception of some people. I'm just saying, but no, it's partly because look, he got.
I want to go to a Hallmark party.
You can come with me afterwards. I'm going back. It'd be great. Finish the Hallmark bingo. It'll be a lot of fun.
Get one of those 10-gram joints that Skyman has.
By the way, speaking of love stories, Steve and Libby, our listeners who are loyal listeners who watch us every week and have traveled to see us and everything. They are engaged. They got engaged.
Oh, I thought they were married.
Well, if they are, they're engaged now. So So if they were married and now they're just engaged, they're doing it backwards. But congratulations, Steve and Libby.
We get ready to plan for a year. Oof.
They this has been something that they enjoy together for the last 4 years, and they say they appreciate it. So, well, we appreciate you, Steve and Libby, and congratulations. That's
I appreciate you more.
That's a very good point as well.
Last one from Eastlick. Graham, I know you've looked into it in basketball, foot injuries, but is there a way to compare football injuries with other programs? Good Lord, we're snake bitten lately.
I mean, I guess you could do it. It would be hard. You just have to go through. They don't have like injury reports like the NFL, so you just have to go through beat writers' work. And I mean, somebody could do a painstaking project in really. He doesn't have time for that. You need like an intern that you come on and say, hey, really do some. I mean, this would be a great piece. By the way, if you're like a college journalist and you're looking to do something that would truly be a great clip and you've got some time on your hands, these sort of stories where you really look into deep data that would take just hours upon hours trying to look at different injury reports and compare different places and how bad is it? Is there any place that's, so
basically you want them to do all the work. And
pretty much. But I don't know if this would even be worth your time. I'm just saying that would be the person who could do it.
You want to make it in this business. You got to do something that's total ass. Professor, GC, I was in Portland. City underwhelmed. Attorney underwhelmed. Natural beauty was amazing. Where would you rank Portland experience in your all-time travel rankings?
I love Portland. I would live there. And there aren't a lot of places that when I travel to, I'd say, boy, I could live here. Some place I love visiting. Like I love the energy in New York City, but after like 3-4 days, I'm like, holy shit, this place is going to run me over. I need to get out. Portland, I love. Like, have you ever been to Portland? Have you ever been to the Pacific Northwest? Like, it's just like there's a crispness to the air. Like, it's just clean. It feels good in your lungs. Like, it's just you can get your arms around. I don't know. I like it a lot. But the city, the city's okay. But parts of the I like the Pearl District area. Can
you get heroin there?
They do have a drug problem actually, and it's partly with their homeless population too. That's a little bit of an issue.
Oh, blame it on the homeless. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No,
He's got a stupid-looking face.
It's one of my favorite places. This trip wasn't as fun because I worked more than the last time, but it was. It's
overrun with homeless people with drug problems. I love it.
Both Portland and Seattle have that issue, no question.
Kirk Cousins Chains next. Who was watching the games in Portland? Nobody in the crowd, and almost nobody stayed up till 2 a.m. No MSU game should start after 8 p.m.
Yeah, the crowds were shit, and I don't know why. They were so much better 5 years ago. So
I thought something was happening. It was weird. Yeah. I don't mind. Listen, the 2 a.m. thing was brutal, but I don't mind like a 9:30 tip. But midnight's
rough. Midnight. I was like, oh God,
I'm so old. I had to like prepare, to take a nap, take an aspirin, and
yeah, I took a nap for sure. It was
Skymint.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand when you're playing games on the West Coast, you're going to have different times. If they could avoid midnight, like nothing should ever start after 10 p.m. Eastern. It's involving an Eastern time team to me.
Next one from Kirk Cousins Chains. Keon Coleman, over under 5 minutes a game for MSU basketball by March.
Keon Coleman over.
If injuries persist, though.
Well, if injuries persist, over. But say they pretty much stay healthy. They get Akins and Hall back. I'm gonna go over.
Yeah,
I do think there's a decent chance that he finds a role that they like, that he's able to, and I think it increases as the year goes on. But it's.
But what's the minute number like that you would say? Like 6, 7, 8. If we got that crazy,
the question will become: does he become a regular guy in the rotation, or does he become the guy who goes to when he's pissed off, or there's foul trouble? Like, does he have a regular, meaningful? And I don't know about that. So, but I do think that athletically he can help them based on who this team is, and if he winds up being a guy who's a real, like, the question will be is how good a defender is he? Because if he's a guy who goes in there and can lock somebody up, like a guy named Cormack at Notre Dame, and makes them better defensively and doesn't hurt them offensively. The one other problem you have is we'll see what he is offensively. Like, you could see against Notre Dame, Jason Whitens, for all the gritty effort he puts in, a couple times Tyson Walker would put a move on somebody, go to kick the ball, and instead of it going to Malik Hall, it's going to Jason Whitens, and Whitens is just going to give the ball back to Walker. Like, that was a total fruitless move. Whereas if it's Hall, he can hit a shot, he can drive, he can do a number of things. The other thing I want to say, if you ever want like a Keon Coleman groovy donut, they will do it for you. They will put Keon Coleman's number, they'll put his face, they'll put whatever you want.
Monica's going to kill you.
On a groovy donut. They will put a detailed face of Keon Coleman on a groovy donut. They also have red velvet donuts back for the holiday season, which is trouble for me. I'm really excited to this. Go to groovydonuts.com to place your order today, or you can stop by any week, anytime, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and also in Williamston. They have great swag, too, for holiday gift ideas, but you can brighten somebody's life, brighten your own life. If you're just having trouble with the Michigan State rivalry, you know what's better? Skymint, box of donuts.
Dark Mantonio next. I agree that you've got to give a coach at least 4 years unless the program is regressing by year. What has to happen where MSU has to cut ties with Tuck before 2025? Recruiting, not what it was hoped for, losing to Michigan 3 straight, which shouldn't be a factor. A losing record, something deeper.
This also could have been the Hopcat or the Cosmic Fries question of the day by Hopcat, because I think this is an interesting question.
Make it the crack fries then.
What would it take for Mel Tucker, for MSU to cut ties before 2025? So that's 2 more seasons. What do you think it would take outside of scandal, like wins, losses, what's going on in the program from a football standpoint for them to cut ties?
I would say 10 to 11 wins total in 2 years, and the recruiting kind of it stays where it's at. I don't know. I mean, if you lose the team, something to that effect. Obviously, we always say that. If if you lose the team, it's pretty much dead man walking for any coach. I just think if he goes 6-6 next year, follows it up with another 5, 6 win, 7 win season, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think you're right. It would the program momentum would feel like it would have to be in the wrong direction, and then there'd have to be something where there's just this awful game. It's a November game that's 49-3. You remember the Bobby Williams game, and it looks like the guys have quit, and the recruiting hasn't been what they hoped for, and it's a good question. I don't think the Michigan rivalry will determine it. I mean, the staff is more reasonable and patient than that. The administration and should be. It would take something. It would take a sense that things were going in the wrong direction, and that they weren't going to be turned around with him. And it's one of those, when you see it sort of things. And I think, there are people now that are already a little concerned about certain things they saw, but I don't think anybody's at anywhere near that point yet.
Dark Mantonio. MSU football is at 12 pledges for 2023. How many more are they going to take, and how many of the new recruits will be 4 and 5 stars, which are very hard to get?
I don't think they'll reach before February. Like my guess is Mel Tucker thinks he can get solid players through the portal or through the class later if he doesn't get them. Like I wouldn't be stunned if he's got 17 on signing day on December 21st. 18 with a plan to get more. Like that wouldn't surprise me if they're very dead set on not settling.
Last one from Dark. How on earth do Auburn and UNLV have a higher APR than MSU?
I don't even know how MSU has a high APR. MSU's had so much turnover in the program that usually cripples your academic progress rate score. So, easy enough for him. The question is, how do any of these schools that have had coaching turnover and roster turnover have high APR? I don't even understand it. I know a lot of people would like to get rid of the APR anyway. But it's fascinating that MSU has a decent APR because they've had enough roster turnover, enough transfers that you would think that thing would have been in the tank.
Plus size softball dad. They didn't really sit on Mazi Smith's charges for 2 months, hot in here, just so he could play the entire season, did they?
It can't be that easy and that conspicuous. Like it's just, no. There's just no way because, the timing is just brutal. Like it just, if they'd done it
right on time.
If they'd done it last week before the Ohio State game, and it was like this takes a while, then you'd say, okay, there's no conspiracy here. They did it right before the Ohio State game. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it happened after the Ohio State game, after he played the whole regular season. Now that said, they're planning to play him this week. Like even with this, there's no and Ward Manuel and Harbaugh are fully behind him, and I don't hate their statement toward him. Like if the Michigan State part of it had never happened from Harbaugh and Ward Manuel, where the Michigan State guys were of such low character in their eyes and needed charges, and they pushed that, and then their guy is of such great character. It's their own condemnation of the Michigan State guys that makes their response seem like shit now, and they should be aware of that. I mean, it creates this perception that they're just completely out to get Michigan State in this situation, and they were willing to do it at the expense of kids' lives.
Next one from Plus Size. How long before congressional hearings should be held as to why no charges have been made on MSU's coaching staff? And from Nestle's Quick Hotel. At what point in time does it become obvious that Tucker isn't making staff changes? Like if all the coordinators are still on the staff New Year's Day, does that mean they're safe?
No, that's a good question. Like I don't think something could happen tomorrow, frankly. But
what's the date where you're like, oh, okay, these guys are coming back?
I would think it's about the new year because what I think, I'll have to look at when the Ron Burton change happens, and it may with Tucker, it may be that it's if he can land somebody better. That's what I mean. I don't think he was necessarily thinking I'm getting rid of Ron Burton, but when he's able to find the two guys he wanted and make that whole thing happen, it was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I think that may be part of it too. He may be working behind the scenes. If there's a change, he's thinking about, can I get this guy? And if I can, then I'm going to make a move. If I can't, then I'm okay with what I have. The other thing is the recruiting calendar is so different than it used to be. It used to be that January was the month that all these guys were on the road, and February 2nd was the signing day. And so December, throughout the month, you saw a lot of changes. You got to be real careful quick. If you got an assistant who's in on 2-3 guys that you really like, or you really and you get rid of them right now before December 21st, that may be curtains on a recruit you want. So I wouldn't be surprised either if more and more changes happen sort of after the first signing period, before the second recruiting wave heats up. And so I think, right now, like I think it's December 5th, although some guys are already in the portal at the next situation where the portal opens up. Like you want to have your staff in place. I don't know if this is a great time to be making coaching changes unless you certainly know you want to make one. You don't want a guy on your roster or on your staff for sure, or you want somebody else. But otherwise, so I would say after Christmas, that kind of week, right around early New Year, is if everybody's still on the team or on the roster, middle the first week of January, late first week of January, then you probably got your staff.
Plus-size softball dad with this one. Is the non-conference scheduling debate over? That as long as you beat Penn State and Ohio State, you can play 4 scrubs out of conference.
Yes, in some ways, but Michigan still made a mistake with this. Like, it worked out, but Michigan playing who they did could have cost them dearly. They beat Ohio State, so that's fine. And if you beat everybody, you play in the Big Ten or the SEC or the Pac-12, you play in any of the power leagues and you go undefeated, you're going to get in every time. But if Michigan was in Ohio State's circumstance and they had lost that game, I don't believe they'd be number 5 in the rankings. I don't believe that they would be necessarily jumping a team like USC if USC lost as easily. And so, yes, it wound up being fine and working out okay for them, but they also put it's a great team at risk by doing it. So it was still a dumb move.
Jeff Oswald next. Any truth to the rumor that Mazi Smith's story broke today just to make your show last 6 hours?
That was the plan, I think, all
What
along.
A marathon that would be.
6 hours?
6 hours, 2 breaks. Oof.
Speaking of 6 hours, 2 breaks, we're going to take a really quick break. Plenty more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions still to come. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Firekeepers Casino and iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to a best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official sponsor of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. There is no better place to watch any Michigan State game other than the 50-yard line at Spartan Stadium. Stop by any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit hopcat.com. Ever wondered just how comfortable you can be? Find out with Muskox high-quality flannels. Muskox is a Detroit-based company that creates durable comfort that'll last a lifetime. Muskox flannels are thoughtfully designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy, guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com.
When it's your moment, that once-in-a-lifetime moment, you don't just want jewelry. You can get that anywhere. You want a memory that will go down in history, your moment. We're Medawar, crafted with exquisite style, quality, and love, so your present will be stunning every time you look at it, every time someone notices it, and they will notice. We've devoted our lives to this art, and we're proud to share it with you. The gift you want to give is here.
Medawar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, Portage, and Brighton.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Skymint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Skymint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Skymint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Skymint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Some cool offers going on right now from Skymint, by the way. And you can go to skymint.com anytime and have these offers emailed right to you. Like right now, their featured brand is the North Cannabis Company through December 5th, which is through Monday. All sorts of deals on pre-rolls, eighths, gummies, and some really cool offers there. Skymint also delivers. So if you go to skymint.com, chances are you live in an area of Michigan that they deliver. You can find out there. They do in the Lansing area. They do in Grand Rapids. And there are Skymints throughout the state. Find out locations there. And as always, if you're a first-time customer, use the Couch and the Brew promo code CouchandRube20 for 20% off.
I was there tonight. It was jamming.
It's a good night for Skymint.
10 gram. They have 10-gram pre-rolls, which if you don't smoke, it's like usually a pre-roll is a half or full gram, and this one is 10 grams.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's a lot of grams.
And if you're going to a Hallmark Christmas movie party, Skymint is a must.
Buy 2 of those.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, Ryan Schultz said he's 100% sure that the Man-Bra bet is 20 wins.
Yeah.
And 90% sure it's the regular season that was specified.
That's good enough.
My thought was this. I do think it was the regular season, but I think that includes the Big Ten tournament because my thought is that it was about what the resume is going into the NCAA tournament. The whole idea was would they get in. So I thought 20-win season. So I'll double-check it, but I think it also includes the NCAA, the Big Ten tournament. Whatever they are going into the NCAA tournament.
Isn't it great that you have to check, though? Means Michigan State's kind of not playing well.
I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Need that on a shirt. Jeff Oswald next. Will Izzo use this as a way to challenge the blue wall to acknowledge their hypocrisy?
Why don't you write something? Why don't you write something, huh? Why don't you write something?
I mean, I think the blue wall has been pretty active today in a good way. I mean, there's been some good work and journalism done by what you would consider the blue wall. So, I hopefully, but the thing is, Izzo might not read any of it, and he'll be just as pissed off.
Jeff Oswald with this one. How many different ways can listeners ask the exact same question? Guessing Graham knows.
A lot of different ways. There's no question. You guys are great at that, and that's why some of the same questions get repeated. But a great question can sometimes asked differently, can sometimes spur a different conversation. And also with me, I ramble through the intro of this today. I was so unclear what I was trying to say. It took 3 or 4 times for me to actually spit it out. So sometimes I need you to repeat the same thing.
Rich Searing next. Where is all the outrage over Mazi Smith? Tell me where there isn't a double standard.
See, that's another way to ask the question.
Yep.
Just like that. Rich, on the money.
Short, sweet.
Yep. And there's an argument that there is a double standard certain ways. Certainly Michigan State gets held to a higher standard. And this isn't just with Michigan. Michigan State gets held to a more critical standard than a lot of places throughout the country. And that goes back to the critique that ESPN has had on them for a while. Now, I do wonder if you go back, 8, 9 years at this point when ESPN was foiling everything they were trying to get and Michigan State was fighting it, what if they'd done it differently had they do over again?
Richard Kane next. Have you ever spoken with colleagues who cover Michigan about the blue wall, and how have those conversations gone?
I have, and I mean they don't think there is a blue wall, so they know there's a perception of a blue wall, and I do think there's some acknowledgement sometimes that there is sometimes a bigger audience of Michigan coverage, like we cover things at the Lansing State Journal based on audience. It's the reason they send me on the road to every Michigan State football game. When Lansing Community College is right in my backyard, I love that place. Went there, would love to cover them. And yet I might do 2 stories a year. It's based on audience. So you have to understand that not everything's 100% fair. Michigan football draws a bigger audience than anything else that's covered in this state outside of maybe the Lions, and if the Tigers are really, really good in the playoffs or something. And that's just the way it is. So there's going to be those realities, and sometimes to the detriment of their own newspaper readership metrics, they will work around that. They will try to have somebody at the Michigan State game, even if the big game is at Michigan that weekend. They'll have a columnist there. So there is a concerted effort. They're aware of the perception of the blue wall, and there's a concerted effort to be fair. But it doesn't always come across that way, and they're aware of that too.
Do we need 6 people covering one school in 2022 though? At a game, I know you're going to say absolutely
from one organization. You mean?
Yeah, I mean not organization, but team, like guys that are covering Michigan State. There's like 7 of you guys. Like in 2022, do we need 7 guys? I don't know.
Probably not. If you can make money off it, and you can, yeah, no, probably not.
All right, Jay Riemann-Schneider. Which do you think is Harbaugh's best Michigan team? The 2016 team with more than 20 NFL players, and most think was robbed of the spot against Ohio State, or 2021 that finally beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten, went to the college football playoff, and had the number 2 draft pick, or this year, which went undefeated in regular season with a top 10 offense and defense?
I think this year, because, and we'll see with Blake Corum now out for the year, but I think this year at the line of scrimmage is, and just throughout the rosters is solid as they've been. I don't know. Would you agree? Do you think last year's Michigan team was better with the high draft picks and the?
Yeah, I would definitely take last year's team, though.
Would you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll find out, I guess, in the playoff, right? If they get to play Georgia again, are they more capable and ready?
Riemann Schneider with this one. You were asked this before and can't remember your answer, but now that Michigan has beaten Ohio State and is the overwhelming favorite to win the Big Ten, are they now the king of the conference? Or 1A and 1B with Ohio State? Or was the decades-long Ohio State reign too much and is still Ohio State's until further notice?
No, I mean, it's Michigan's league right now. They've won it 2 years in a row, and, I mean, time doesn't...
What else do you need to do?
Yeah, time doesn't stand that still, right? I mean, yeah, they've won... And not only that, they've beaten Ohio State handily 2 years in a row. It's their league, and somebody else has got to.
I mean, is there a possibility Ohio State could get into the playoff? There's a possibility. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if USC loses, I think TCU might be able to lose and still get in.
No.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. When you look at their overall schedule, I think their strength of schedule is stronger than Ohio State.
Do we need a 12-team playoff then?
Yes. But you think about, because their only loss would be to Kansas State, which is ranked number 10, if they were to lose this weekend. It's not like it's a bad loss.
Yeah.
Neutral site loss number 10. I think
I just view it as TCU, the outlier, right? They're usually not. You have to go undefeated as a TCU.
Well, that's the other thing. If I'm
your reputation, I guess.
The 1 year where somebody really got screwed in the playoff was the first year when TCU was number 5, and they fell from like 3 to 5 despite winning. Like they deserve to be in. The 1 year, like you can claim the first year more than any other year that we did not have a true national champ because TCU belonged in there, and you don't know if they would have won it. So, like, I think just for that, for sentimentality, for knowing you once screwed that program and this is their first chance to be in it again, I would make sure TCU is in, win or lose. USC is the interesting one because they would have a second loss, and it would be to the same team. And I think if USC loses to Utah, Ohio State probably gets in, which I think is somewhat bullshit because Ohio State doesn't have to play this week, and Ohio State might lose again after last week if they had to play again this week. And why does USC get punished for losing or for playing an extra game?
Next one from Jay. Don't know if you talked about it or not, but did you travel from Oregon to Penn State back to Oregon? If so, that is some dedication to the craft.
I did not. I stayed in Oregon the whole time. That would be too much. And frankly, to hear Mel Tucker talk for 3 minutes after a game, I didn't think it was worth it. Got a lot more out of being in Oregon and able to cover 3 MSU men's games and 2 women's games. But I appreciate you thinking I might have. So that means my quick takes weren't that bad.
David Witcher next. Did we get too excited too early about Mazi Smith? Since Kentucky, he's been showing flashes of the last 2 years, like dropping the ball and having bad fouls.
He had a rough game last night.
Wasn't good.
No. And he had a Matt Costello sophomore year moment where he like catches the ball and he could turn and dunk it, but he kind of panics. And
was he great against Portland?
No.
Right.
No, here's my theory on Sissoko. I think, and he's got to get over this. This can't be his thing because it doesn't work. I think he's better playing up to the competition. When everybody doubts him, when he's playing an All-American center, Mazi Smith has athleticism, he can dial in, but the problem is he's not good enough to dominate people who aren't good, who aren't as good, aren't as athletic yet. And so, he can look bad against just average people, and he can look good enough against great people. He's better, I think that's kind of my theory on Matty Sissoko right now. He's got a ways to go. He's obviously shown enough this year that, he's taken strides.
But that's what makes it confusing, what he's shown like earlier in the year.
He's not consistent.
A couple of games, you're like, I swear to God, it looked like Shaq back at the LSU days. And then you look at him the past 2 games, you're like, what happens, though? And
he had some moments. I thought they were going to get back in it when Walker had that steal and they had that alley-oop to him, and he got some. He needs to just be owning the glass and rim running, and he hasn't always. He hadn't done that a ton. There have been a couple of games where I thought Jackson Kohler was better in certain aspects than Sissoko, and that shouldn't be the case athletically for Sissoko.
Gavin Haas next. Is MSU basketball going to be okay when Malik Hall comes back? Or is this team a victim of looking good in the early season like the matchup-proof team from 2020 and 2021?
Thank you, Gavin.
This team's matchup-proof.
If this team is healthy, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be in contention with the upper 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten. I don't think anybody's Purdue may have separate. Purdue looks really good. I still look at the roster. I'm surprised they're so good, but it's come together. And that's the one thing that sucks about Hall being. Well, lots of things suck for Malik Hall about being hurt right now. But the game at Penn State next week, like Penn State's a pretty good team. They're better than I thought. I think that's a game where they could really use Hall. And I would love to see what Michigan State looked like against that team with a full complement of players. But, yeah, I think MSU will be fine as long as Hall comes back healthy and stays healthy. They need him and Akins. They raise their athletic ability. They raise their basketball IQ. They raise their ceiling just a ton.
Gavin Haas and Rompus Dillashaw. How active will Mel Tucker be in the transfer portal this offseason? Do we see any big names come to East Lansing or just smaller building pieces?
Well, the thing is, Kenneth Walker was not a big name when they got him. And often in the transfer portal, you're not going to know it. Jalen Berger was a bigger name than Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. He was like the 3rd running back on Wake Forest, right?
Yeah, 2nd. But he wasn't a guy. He wasn't the guy. He wasn't. Yeah. So I don't think you'll always know that. But I think they'll be active and they'll use it, and they know they've got holes they got to fill. I think they'd like to bring in somebody on the offensive line. I'll be interested to see if they mess around at quarterback at all and do anything there. I can't imagine they will, because I think they do like they like what they have, and they like the younger guys, and it's hard to recruit too if you're bringing in quarterback transfers. I think that's a dangerous spot to be in. You're better off trying to develop them in house. But yeah, I think they will be very active in the transfer portal. I would guess you'll see at least like 6, 7, 8 guys.
Next one from Rompus. Would MSU actually want Dante Moore? I feel like it would cause Kim or Hauser to transfer.
That's the problem in today's day and age. You got to know what you have.
But sometimes it might be impossible to know with some of these guys. And you don't turn Dante Moore down, do you?
But you've had 2 years of Kim and a year of Hauser. You should have a feel. And the other thing is, one thing you got to be able to explain to kids is you're going to have to compete anywhere. Just because Dante Moore comes in, and I understand a lot of people think he's a special talent, but doesn't mean he's automatically going to be the guy and win the job. I mean, people have been really high on Caden Hauser, too, at times. So, but, yeah, you have to be aware of that. That can be an effect. And so, but if you have a chance for a guy you think is going to be even better, like here's the thing about Dante Moore. You don't even, because of Peyton Thorne's age, you don't even have to play a Dante Moore as a true freshman. So if I don't know what Noah Kim would do. I don't know if Hauser both would leave, if one would leave. But say you landed Dante Moore, and both those guys left. You'd have to go convince somebody somewhere. You'd want to have somebody else on scholarship at quarterback in the program, some transfer somewhere who, and you'd have to convince somebody to do that. But you would have another year of having Peyton Thorne with Dante Moore behind him. And, and so, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You really need to have 3 guys in your program. So if you get them, you can get them. You lose guys, so be it. That's going to be the nature of the beast, is trying to build that quarterback room.
Doug Warren next. Lions 2023 rookie QB. Bo Nix, C.J. Stroud, or Michael Penix Jr.?
Who do you like most, and who do you think is most realistic?
Bo Nix is 3rd here. But that's gambling related, I think. But, really, Bo Nix. What pick are we talking about here?
Right.
The Rams pick. Jesus. Stroud, after the game against Michigan, I don't know. I wasn't really that impressed. Penix, first round, top 15 pick? I don't think so. But you can sway me. You can change my mind.
And the thing about having 2 first-round picks, if you're the Lions, is if, that gives you some flexibility, I guess.
And you have Jared Goff. I mean, you could just ride the Jared Goff train.
Forever.
They'll do it to me.
It is interesting that the Rams could wind up giving the Lions the number 2 pick.
Yes.
It could be that high.
Right.
That's incredible.
Aaron Donald's out Sunday.
Yeah.
Stafford's going to be out a while.
What a dream. Like
Brad Holmes, man. I mean, still, the Carolina offer that they offered for Stafford, but they didn't want to send him there. I don't know.
Still, if this winds up being 2, that's a pretty good deal.
But there's no way he forced out
no,
Stafford getting hurt and all these injuries.
Correct.
But.
He does not deserve credit for that entirely. But obviously, if it works out as the 2 pick, that would be pretty awesome.
Sure. Jarrett next. What MSU football player surprised you the most this season in a good way?
I saw this and I was trying to think about who. I think Elijah Collins would have to be it. I didn't know if he was ever going to be a part of things again, and he wound up being a pretty productive, good running back. So to me, Elijah Collins would stand out as the guy that I thought was that just his reemergence being such a good story. That would be it.
Ken Chu up next. If there was a 12-team playoff this year, how many teams would have a chance to win it all? I say 6. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC, Alabama, and Ohio State, assuming Michigan, TCU, and USC win their championship games. And I would add Tennessee if their QB wasn't injured, or LSU if they upset Georgia.
So that's part of the argument for a 12-team playoff or against it is how many of these teams really have a chance anyway. But this is a good year. Is Alabama and Clemson that were so dominant for a while, and Ohio State, none of those 3 might be in the top in the 4. It does raise the point that year to year there is more parity perhaps coming, and if you've got 6 or 7 who can win it, then you can't have a 4-team playoff. Then you ought to have at least an 8-team playoff, and I don't mind a 12. I think you're probably right on all those. Tennessee before the Hendon Hooker injury. LSU I thought had a chance for a minute, but yeah, you're probably right in there.
Jordan Mack up next. With Matt Rule, Luke Fickell, Lincoln Riley, and Chip Kelly all coming to the Big Ten, do you think MSU would make a 12-team playoff within just the Big Ten?
Here's a Michigan fan for you.
I know.
I love you, Jordan. That's outstanding.
I deal with him often. He's like, yeah, I'm sure my Twitter questions will be at the bottom.
It's not at the bottom. We got a lot of them. You're right smack dab in the middle. Jason's got a long way to go reading these.
And he was on the floor at the Michigan-Virginia game. He got his boss's seat, so I had to watch him. Him and his fiance Sam were at the game, and it was just wild when you see somebody you're just constantly looking at the end of the basket. He said he was talking to the ref too.
Was he?
Yeah, I didn't know that happened.
I guess you pay for those seats, you can talk to whoever you want,
Yeah.
Or you get your boss's seats. Either way, it works out. It is the coaches coming into the league now, and we'll see what this actually winds up being for these programs. Nebraska thought they had a home run hire before this. There have been lots of teams that have thought they made great coaching hires, and it hasn't worked out. Chip Kelly has not been unbelievable at UCLA. They were better this year, but it's been a kind of a slow build there. But Lincoln Riley for sure. Luke Fickell, I think, is as good as Wisconsin could have done without question. Matt Rule, great hire at Nebraska.
And Fickell and Rule, we talked about it. Those guys have flipped programs. It's just scary.
If you're Michigan State, you might be like, hey, let's just keep divisions. We'll stay in the East. Avoid these guys. But, yeah, no, look, if the league gets tougher, Michigan State's got to ramp it up. And this is what they're paying Mel Tucker, $9.5 million a year.
Oh, why you got to bring up salary?
He's got to recruit to a level. That's who he's being paid to compete with and win against his fair share of times.
Next one from Jordan Mack. Michigan being in a completely different stratosphere than MSU will do more for cooling off the rivalry than taking time off would. Thoughts?
Bullshit. Here's why. Because Michigan State fans have seen the other side of this thing, and they cannot go back.
No.
And so from their side of things, it's going to be
with guys like that with those kind of questions. I mean,
yep.
You try to be nice and say, hey, man, that was an unbelievable game against Ohio State. Domination.
And Jordan Mack drops.
Oh,
would Michigan State even be in a 12-team playoff in the Big Ten?
No, he dropped his money line bet on me that he bet 1,000 to win like $4K. But so I'm like, Jesus, man, I'm trying to just be, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be cordial, and then that happens, and I'm like, well, fuck this dude. You know what I mean? Like,
we appreciate you, Jordan. No, and also I think that Michigan State is in the heads of Michigan in ways that never before, and I don't think that changes easily. Enough's been done over 15 years. There are too many people of a certain age who don't know any different. That rivalry is to cool off would need time off.
From the woodshed next. Last weekend was so deflating for the MSU football fans. Ohio State is teetering off a cliff's edge after Michigan spanked them, and we're still light years away from both of them as a program. Will we ever catch up to them?
Going to have to recruit at a different level. And it really, I mean, you think about a year ago, it didn't feel that far away, and it did for Ohio State, but not as much Michigan. And you get a couple good recruiting classes in, and those guys get to a certain age and start permeating the program, and all of a sudden everything feels fine again. It really does take recruiting at a high level. And so that's why all eyes are on this class right now, this year for Mel Tucker.
Ryan Day, hot seat? I love those questions.
Well, it's interesting. Joe Rexrode, our old friend, wrote a piece about Vrabel from the Titans, who's an Ohio State guy, being a better fit there and just throwing
that's
everything
a good
in
take.
him. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad. And here's the thing. For Ryan Day, I don't think right now, nobody's going to fire him now, but if they were to lose again to Michigan in this way, and as Joe put it, he kind of shrunk in the moment in that game. And you can't be John Cooper at Ohio State. You can win every other game, but if you don't win that one, they're not going to keep you around. Because there are a lot of coaches who can win almost every other game at Ohio State.
It's the way they lost.
Yes.
I mean, at your own crib, you get hammered. Harbaugh absolutely came up with a great game plan. I mean,
and you get out coached,
right?
And you get out coached in game too. It was.
But I mean, after the next 2 days after the game, people are calling for Ryan Day's job. I get it, but if it still happens a couple of weeks after, like, okay, you're crazy. From the woodshed, should Tuck go after the Texas quarterback Hudson Card in the transfer portal? He'd likely be an upgrade at the position, and he's eligible to play immediately.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they think there. I don't know. I don't know if you want to mess. I think quarterback rooms are a delicate area, and if you think, we'll see where they're going right now.
But if you said you got to compete anywhere you go,
right? But you want to make sure something's truly an upgrade. Like I think one of the things that, like with Michigan State basketball and Sissoko. Like, I don't think they were sure that some of the kids they were going to look at the 5 were going to be 100% upgrade. So they didn't really look at kids at the 5 that much. Now, the kid at Iowa State, I just covered him, and I covered a game for the Des Moines paper when I was out in Portland, who was available, came from, St. Bonaventure or St. somewhere. He's, holy shit. Yeah, he would have been, MSU could really use him right now. Like, that would have been a hell of a get. And so you just have to know if what you're getting is truly an upgrade or what you need in the program. If what you need is just somebody who's willing to, like the kid from Temple who came in, and Russo, and was willing to compete and didn't win the job, whatever, it elevated your overall position by having some experience there and pushing Peyton Thorne, then that's fine. So, but I think they've got those guys in the program. I think there's too much. Like, if you still think you have it with Caton Hauser, you don't mess around with somebody else.
Nick Palmer up next. Overall rate, how MSU handled the running back position this year.
I thought pretty well. I thought, once
Elijah Collins, though, I mean,
he probably could have played a little more. But once he became the number 2 guy, and they rode him all the time. He played a lot. And the Broussard, I thought Broussard early, they really loved Broussard, and then Broussard struggled, and they stopped playing him, and then he played better, and they played him a little more, and Berger got better. I don't know. I thought they were okay there. I didn't think that was a big issue.
Nick Palmer with this one. Is MSU still a destination spot for the transfer portal?
I would think to some degree, because they play a lot of guys. They've had some success there. The Kenneth Walker thing is going to help. But you can come there and you can play. And so I think that's what transfers want a lot. They're looking for a fresh start. You get to play in the Big Ten. You got a chance to help, to be on the field. I would think it very much is a destination for the transfer portal. And essentially, eventually, if you're Michigan State, you don't want to be a destination for the transfer portal.
And Kenneth Walker having success with the Seahawks is definitely helping, too.
For sure.
You guys are seeing that he's having success already. Nick Palmer, would you hire Hugh Freeze or Deion Sanders to lead your college football program?
It depends on the program and the situation.
It's Deion Sanders, and it's not close.
Oh, sure.
I would hire Deion over a lot of other coaches. I can't believe Florida State doesn't hire him.
Okay, so this is an either or. Sorry, I thought you meant it was like, would you hire either of these guys? Yeah. No, but between the two of them, 100% Dion.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze is a fuck.
He's a
Hugh
weird
Freeze.
dude.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan. And whatever. But
I like guys that are out there, but Hugh Freeze is something.
It fits Auburn. That'd be a good marriage.
Jeez.
Dion, though, to me,
he's made for this transfer portal and
he is.
Shit.
I think he can be difficult to deal with a little bit. I do think if I were a program like Colorado, I understand. I don't know if that's a fit, but I understand their interest.
Why would you try it though?
Correct.
If you're a program like that?
If you are off the radar, he's a guy to bring you back on the radar.
Why
not?
Gives
you a chance.
What other choice do you have? You just hire another retread. You win 3 games. Matt Venny up next. Do you think the New Year's Six bowls should be separate from the college football playoff? Bowls like Rose, Orange, Sugar, Fiesta have lost their mystique being a part of the playoff, and it would allow mid-tier programs and fan bases a reward for a good season like MSU had in 2013.
Well, I mean, MSU had a great season in 2013. I no, because once you get to a 12-team playoff, those bowls are going to have to be part of it. They're going to go away because then you're dealing with the next tier down, and those aren't games that anybody's excited about. So they're either going to have to be part of the college football playoff going forward, or they're just going to have to disappear, which could happen
There's
eventually.
too much money in the Rose Bowl, though, right? I mean,
yeah, the Rose Bowl is being a bunch of dicks, though. I mean, they act like they're so important. They need, like, okay, you were great for 100 years, and we get it, and everybody loved it, but wake up to reality, man.
Yeah. Steve Beckman, should Bryce Behringer win all of the National Punter of the Year awards?
Give me some Hoff. Let me see where he is on the punting stats.
Wait,
here.
before you look, name another Division I punter.
Oh, man, I don't want to do that. The Iowa guy, he's good.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight.
All right, so he is up by a considerable margin. So, yeah, I mean, I know he fell off a little bit. He had a couple games that weren't great. They had some snapping issues. So he's not going to break the Division I record, but he's still at 49, an average of 49 yards per punt. And it's not like he didn't punt a lot. He punted 50 times. So, and the next guy's at 46.83. It should all be Bryce Behringer, I think. And I think he's got a chance in the NFL because he's got the leg for it.
Why wouldn't he have a chance?
Well, sometimes you can be a really good punter, but you're not a booming leg guy, or you're a booming leg guy, but you don't have the ability to like pin people deep with accuracy. And I think he's got kind of all like Mike Sadler at his peak was unbelievable at putting the ball inside the 10-yard line. But he didn't have an NFL leg. Like he was a 43, 44-yard punt type top guy. And then there are some guys who can boom it, but when you're like, what we really need right now is a 30-yard punt that's inside the 5 that can't do it.
Or if you're the Lions, you just go for it all the time.
That's true. The Lions
pay your punter $2 million a year. Steve Beckman up next. How excited are you for the USA soccer game against the Netherlands on Saturday at 10 a.m.? Where will you be watching from? I'm not going to be watching. Oh, he's talking to you.
You're not going to watch the. You're not going to get it. No. Okay. I can't even describe my excitement. I love the time slot.
I'll just wait for your tweet or something.
The beauty is 10 a.m. Groovy Donuts is open that morning. Get up, go to Groovy Donuts, get a coffee, a couple donuts, maybe a box of 6. Elizabeth and I can sample them all.
Donuts,
and then come back, and Red Velvet will definitely be part of it, and watch the game. But I'll probably watch it at home. I like being able to focus. I like as much as I love the enjoying like a World Cup at a bar, I can get annoyed by people at a bar too when I care about a game. So I want to watch it with the sound up. I don't want people chanting when I'm trying to hear the commentary.
We have bar sponsors.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, well, you want to go to a bar.
I'm going to be at Front 43 or Cask and Company.
Whatever.
Probably. For sure. Maybe Midtown Brewing Company. See if they'll put it on for me. Have some brunch there. Fuck. Fix that in post.
I might have to, actually. Steve Beckman, what did you think of your Spotify Wrapped?
I didn't look at mine. Have you looked at yours?
Yeah. I looked at it. I was surprised I listened to a lot of Kings of Leon.
I was impressed by how many people reached out to us.
Yes.
Is their top podcast. That felt really good, by the way.
Very, very nice.
And we appreciate that. We appreciate you guys a ton. I share my Spotify account with my wife, so I don't know if I'll get an accurate depiction. And I use the Apple Podcast app for most of my podcasts, so I don't get the same. Yeah, I'm not getting an accurate view.
South of Munn next. Alexi Lalas is the Jay Billis of soccer. He just loves himself a bit too much. Also, telling non-soccer fans that soccer is the beautiful game makes those people dislike you, along with disliking soccer.
Yeah, you gotta not push it on people. They'll find it their own way. Because I am somebody who used to. I remember I liked soccer a lot, but I would also like if I had an MLS game on in the summer, I'd be like, man, I cannot wait till football's being played on this field instead. And that's changed. I don't need football. I got soccer. But that had to happen organically for me. It wasn't Jason here shoving it down my throat like, dude, you got to fucking watch soccer.
Oh.
Yeah, what? That wasn't great. But you know what I mean? It's yeah, I'm with you.
Wait, did Lala say it's a beautiful game like during the game, or is he?
I don't know
how is
when
he
he
talking
said-
to non-soccer fans? Like, if you love the game, I don't mind that. If you're doing it on your air, but if you keep trying to tell people how great it is, that's just.
It is called a beautiful game because aesthetically,
Sure.
the way I mean,
That's how you feel and you
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
So be it. But it's like the craft beer nerds. I've always said it. It's just like, I don't like your shit. Sorry. Enjoy it.
except for our craft beer sponsors.
Well, yeah, I just don't drink the craft beer that they want you to
Right.
drink, right? I don't drink any beer. Parker Wees next. Graham, will you make Jason watch the U.S. footy match Saturday morning? He can have Sky Mint and bitch, but he should watch.
I don't think he's going to.
I'll
wish
be
he
in
would.
Nashville.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
we're
right.
going to Nashville.
What are you
but
going to be doing Saturday morning in Nashville? 9 a.m. Central Time start. So
I'll be doing anything other than watching
be
the soccer
fun
match.
fun at a bar in Nashville. They're a big soccer town. They got Nashville. They got one of their players is one of their best defenders is Zimmerman is one of their defenders on the U.S. national team. I don't know if he's going to play, but yeah, I don't know. I
What a
can't.
sell.
I can't make him do it. I'm sorry. I'm excited about it.
Next one from Parker. How fortunate is MSU to get Northwestern as our next and first Big Ten basketball game?
Yeah, I think this actually worked out really well that Michigan State doesn't get marquee opponents early in the year because the Big Ten wants to save those television games for later in the year when more people are paying attention to college basketball. So Michigan State being a bigger brand, getting lesser brands early. Now, Penn State may be unfortunate because I do think that's going to be a tough game. It's not a tough environment, but I'm actually going to go to that game. Originally, I was thinking if I was going to skip one, that would be it. But Penn State's playing well enough. I'm going to hop on a plane that day and go. Plus, the State College Airport's amazing. It's just like the easiest. Like literally, it's like where you land to where your rental car is parked is like me to you, Jason. It's so small and so perfect. I wish every place was like it. But Northwestern is helpful right now. They get a little bit of time off. Boo Buie and Chase Audige have beaten Michigan State before. They'll be confident in that game.
That's right, Boo Buie.
Still around, man. That guy's got to be like 64. It's incredible. But it's helpful. That's a helpful next game for sure.
Zonovan Knight, what a name. Do your sponsors listen to your show? How do they know that you actually do the ads? Does Hopcat have some poor intern listening? Does Hopcat have some poor intern listening to every show? Do they get mad when they fuck it up or cuss?
No, they know that's sort of our thing. Like we're gonna fuck up and we're gonna cuss.
And there's actually been people that listen to the show that are affiliated with some of the sponsors. That's how it organically happened. Right?
Most of our sponsors at this point have come to us.
Yeah.
Like early on, it was us going to them.
God, we sound like assholes though. They came to us.
No, I didn't mean like that. But because it's a fit. Like
Yes.
But
meaning they know the show.
They know the show is
Yes.
what we're trying to say. Yeah.
They listen every minute.
Hope
Who
not.
knows?
Good God, no.
Intern just listening. Ears bleeding. Mike Scott, what if I told you last weekend when Peacock was on sale for 99 cents a month for 1 year, I not only bought it, but I was yelling Peacock at my in-laws all weekend. And when I did, my wife asked what was wrong with me, and I caught at her. And she told me to see a doctor, and I told her to don't coach my team. Then she said, is this podcast with the soccer guy and the one who went to jail? God damn it. At least she said jail. Went to jail, isn't it? And I yelled, muskox. Would I win the $20 gift card?
You should, Mike, just for that. If this was a hot take Sunday, if you can repurpose that, you got a real good chance on our next hot take show.
Yeah, record it.
But we appreciate you. That is a fantastic story.
And the one that went to jail.
that is.
I hate this show.
That is Hopcat hot take worthy for sure. The other thing, the quick announcement: our next show will be Tuesday night. We will include some hot takes in that. I know we didn't this last Tuesday. We'll do like one hot take a piece or something like that as we do some other things. But Jason's going to be out of town in Nashville. Therese having a fun trip. So, and Michigan State basketball plays Sunday night anyway, so it wouldn't have been Sunday night. So we'll go on Tuesday next.
Fart Soup up next. If Graham could coach Izzo's team, what would he have done differently Wednesday night at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier with the Comrack or whatever, the Conrad or Comcac or whatever the fuck is Comcac.
Karnak.
What the fuck? I don't know. Whatever his name was.
Comcast.
That I would have put somebody on him and said he doesn't score. He does not hit a three.
What do you do? Punch him in the gut? I mean, he was
good.
Fire.
He was good. I know.
Why is it always one guy like that against State? I know it's because you watch Michigan State all the time. It just feels like always a guy like that. Just it was a career game or something.
It was a tough spot too, because and afterwards you find out that Tyson Walker found out right before the game that he had a close family member pass away, so he's not in a great headspace. You've got a game that's at the tail end of like a really whirlwind schedule. It wasn't so much, and one of the things I asked Izzo about, because people keep talking about fatigue, and these guys are 20-year-old dudes. Like, you're playing a basketball game every couple of days. That's not that hard. They're playing a lot of minutes, though, but I think more than anything, it's mental fatigue from a lot of different scouting reports, a lot of different games, a lot of different places, and that was there. But so what I would have tried to do, it's tough. Like once Notre Dame gets in that comfortable shooting pocket, but what I would have tried to do early, Notre Dame hadn't hit shots yet. Michigan State wasn't making anything. It's like 7-2 after like 6 minutes. Is you try to interject some offense some other way that maybe gets you going before they get going, because eventually that was going to happen. And I don't know what that would have been, where I would have looked for it. There are limitations on the roster, but I would have tried to figure out some other way to with those guards, create some offense and get things going.
Next one from Fart Soup. If Graham's mom was kidnapped by terrorists and the only way to set her free is to listen to the Cars for Kids jingle for 1 hour straight, would he do it?
Nope. She would have had a good run. That would have been great. I said, Mom, I can't do it.
Oh, poor Cars.
No, I would. It is. They know it, too. They know people hate that, and they still, no.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids.
That's so awful.
For an hour?
Who would ever? Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Dude. No, I mean, I love my mom.
And the kids just staring at you singing the song? Oh, man.
Brutal.
Take my car. Jesus. Fart Soup. Dream World Cup final. USA or England?
Who would be in it or who would win if they're playing? I mean, I'm USA all the way here. I'm not. I mean, I like the England team and I have English roots, but the USA team is. First of all, that would be so amazing if the U.S. is in the U.S. and I don't think England.
It'd be great to watch those blokes.
It would be. It would be.
It'd be great to watch those blokes.
Like the fact that USA plays Netherlands, which is a good brand, a European team, and I think a winnable game is going to be fun Saturday. If they're able to somehow get by that, then to get Argentina and Messi, I mean, I am in the quarters. Oh, man.
Keep your pants on.
Nah, pants are off.
Mojo Jojo, is the World Cup a better event than the Olympics? Currently not historically.
Yes. Right now, it's past the Olympics. I think the Olympics aren't as and more than the World Cup. COVID hurt the Olympics, and there have been years I've enjoyed the Olympics, but I don't get I get more joy out of the World Cup than I do the Olympics. I don't know. What about you? Are you an Olympics guy at all?
It depends. Like the Summer Olympics, yeah. The winter ones. I mean, I'll have it on, I guess.
I like certain events here and there. I
like the swimming. I like the story. It depends on the storylines with the Summer Olympics and the winter. I can be talked into something, but to be honest with you, I'm just like, okay.
I'll definitely watch Cool Runnings while the Winter Olympics are on at some point, and like that.
It's a better idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Mojo Jojo, why can't MSU hold on to a kicker? Ridiculous, given the stability we used to have.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, look, as a young kid, came from quite a ways away, and first of all, the thing you have to remember is some of these kids, you don't realize the mental makeup on them until they get here. Because while they've had some pressure at the high school level, basically they've been a rock star. Like, there aren't that many high school kickers that can kick 50-yarders, and they're able to do it. And then all of a sudden you get to a spot where, there's a lot on the line in these games for a lot of people. And not everybody's got that makeup. And so I think, I don't know if that's what happened with Jack Stone, but my sense is that's it.
Mojo Jojo. How many times are we going to have to watch Hogard lose his dribble and turn it over in this season? 1,000? For fuck's sake.
It's his problem. Now, he didn't have a huge amount of turnovers against Notre Dame, but, I mean, he's got to get that under control. There's no question.
How many did they have against Notre Dame? 8?
It wasn't bad. That wasn't the issue.
They usually win when it's under 10, right?
And but Notre Dame doesn't turn you over. They don't play with tempo. That was never going to be a high turnover game.
They just shoot 75% from the field.
And Michigan State couldn't hit shit.
Yeah. Clint, one ball. Baney. David Bowie or Iggy Pop?
You have a preference?
Bowie. Easy.
Yeah.
I love Iggy Pop, don't get me wrong, but Bowie, if you're making me pick. What about you?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
It's not on your Spotify list, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I know both of them well enough, but neither are like my guys,
Clint, one ball. What will MSU's 2023 football recruiting class final ranking be?
Ooh, okay. Let's set the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app over under here. What would it be ranking wise? Now, we said it would be a success if they had more than
what was
7 4-stars.
Year?
But
what was their ranking?
30 something. Hold on, give me some off.
Okay, off.
Peacock.
Caw. Instead of boo, caw. No? Right up in my rectum, and it was painful. So 26, is that right? Were they that high? I didn't realize that. Composite rank 23 for 2022. What year are we in now? Wait, this is
2022.
This is 2022.
Yes.
Sorry,
another month
now.
will be in 2023.
So wrong year. So that's right now. That's their rank for right now. It's 23. Last year was 46.
Oh.
So if it's 23 right now and they don't have any kids but they're highly ranked, what would you say the over under is? Like 20? Do we want to set it there?
Oh, okay. I was going to go higher.
Higher in the worst way, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would if you're setting at 20, I'd go over.
I would too. Let's set it right where it is now at 26.
I'd still go over.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
Yes.
I guess right around there, but yeah, it's a good question.
Last one from Clint. Will MSU break its NCAA basketball streak this year as our depth and talent comes into question as we enter Big Ten play?
Well, they certainly have to get healthy and stay healthy because the team that's on the floor right now would be a bubble team 100% and would have to, would have some games where shit just went wrong on the road and they didn't have enough horses. They might have enough to win enough games. Like the team now that's there, first of all, Keon Coleman would help tremendously at that point. But I think the team now would have a chance to win some games you wouldn't expect them to. But they would also lose games to teams in the bottom half that would really hurt them. Whereas I think if they get healthy, the team we saw for a while, I thought their floor was a little bit higher. I thought they were a mature team. I thought they looked like they had an every night grit to them, and I thought that would keep them from losing dumb road games. But so if they don't get healthy, you got an issue. I think they're fine as long as they get healthy.
Ryan Allen next. How come fans overreact every time MSU gets beat by a team they should beat? Have they not seen the last 5 to 20 years? This happens every year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just natural. I don't think there was so much overreaction last night. I think it was just sort of like, yeah, this is that game. Did you think there was overreaction? I mean, you just said I'm going to bed. I thought that was your tweet, right?
That was it. I mean, what else did I need to see?
Right.
They didn't make a comeback at all. I didn't miss anything, I guess.
I didn't sense a tremendous amount of overreaction. I mean, there's frustration in the moment.
It was disappointing,
yeah,
right? And then you guys say, those things happen. And it's just like, it's like, all right.
I know. I knew as soon as I wrote those quick takes, I'm like, God, if I were a fan, I'd be like, fuck this guy. Like
that's why you're so great.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know how to perfectly weave it in, man. I know I bust your balls, but you are good at what you do. You're like Monterez with talent.
Appreciate you.
Ryan Allen. Why doesn't
put that on a shirt? Huh?
Yeah, next time you go on this podcast, tell him that. Ryan Allen, why doesn't MSU use more 3/4 or half-court press with their guards? We have the guards to play that style.
Yeah, it's never going to be Izzo's thing. And what they don't have is the depth to really press. But also, it goes again. Like Izzo's general thought on press is you can win a lot of games by pressing people. Now, if you press people sometimes, it can be very effective, and they probably should do more of that. But you can win a lot of games, but it's hard to win championships by pressing because good teams with good guards break you down eventually, and that's that. And I've seen it, like Michigan State's women's team lives on its press right now. And it's effective. It's a really good press. The Oregon coach talked about it in like their second-level press and the things they take out of it. It's a sophisticated press. But once you beat it, if you got good guards, like they give up some looks, and if the other team's hitting shots, it's a problem. So I'm also torn on the press.
Ryan Allen, MSU finishes in what place in the Big Ten, and what seed in the tournament now that we have a sample size of the season?
Yeah, this is an if healthy thing. First of all, what do you think would be their? Let's say by January they've got Hall and Aiken's back, and they're doing their thing.
I would think middle of the pack of the Big Ten. And what seed?
Currently,
right now, I don't know. Is this a 9 seed?
See, I think they're.
I think currently, right now as we speak,
I think if they get back to who they were before the peak 85, before the injuries, I think they're around the 4th in the Big Ten. I think they're around a 6 in the NCAA tournament. I think there'll be a bunch of Big Ten teams that are between 4 and 7 in the Big Ten tournament.
It depends on
not the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA tournament. Sorry.
It's it's depending on Sissoko. Is he going to bounce back and
but I also
have some games like he had at the beginning of the season?
I think it helps when he's got better players around him too. I think part of the problem for him right now is that he's not good enough to deal with the roster the way it is. Like he needs Malik Hall around him. He needs the athleticism of Jaden Akins. It helps him tremendously.
Oh, Joshua next. Did Dwayne Stevens leaving impact the development of Maddie's offensive post skills? For God's sake, stop with the fadeaways and make a move towards the basket.
It's a fair question, although Stevens was around for 2 years and Maddie's offensive post skills didn't really seem to be there. So I don't know that that's been a huge issue. It's just going to take a minute. I mean, think about a guy like Matt Costello, who really didn't have any post skills for 3 years, and then as a senior wound up being a pretty good center.
Joshua up next with this one. Can they hire AJ and Malik to become player coaches and teach the bigs to do a motherfucking drop step? Hogard was the best offensive post player for MSU Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, I understand first of all, Malik Hall has got a lot of post moves, and they do need him back for that. And they just don't have. And I thought Hauser had a couple decent moves, and I think obviously Kohler is full of moves. He's not making the shots. He had late in the Portland game. He had he took like 7 drop steps and then airballed the hook. So I mean, he's got the moves. He's got to make the shot.
JD next. Did we get our annual February blowout on the road to a team that couldn't miss game out of the way early this year?
No, I think it's the game in January 29th at Purdue. Yeah, I'm going to predict.
It's bound to happen.
It's going to happen again. It's bound to happen. That's right. It's going to happen at least one more time.
Oh, great. Let us know beforehand. JD, this MSU basketball team has gone from tournament bubble, then to Final Four lock, then to a second weekend lock, then back to the tournament bubble in the span of 2 weeks. November basketball is ass.
And it's mostly injuries, though. I mean, you just go back to who they were before Jaden Akins got hurt against Villanova. They're winning that game comfortably. And I know Villanova's sort of fallen apart since then, but they weren't playing poorly at the time. And I mean, they weren't playing great either, but they were playing differently than they are now. You got to kind of go back to that moment and think that's still who Michigan State is if they get everybody back. Because who they are now, you're right, I believe this is a team that has a chance to be a second weekend team and a top 4 team in the Big Ten, and who knows with that, but they've got to be 100% healthy to do it.
Couch on fire. Jason, wasn't that your impression of Graham on Sky Mint when Bill Walton said, "I like peanut butter. I eat peanut butter every day"? But see, Bill Walton's kind of more like he's got a little Chewbacca in there. Right?
I think you.
I like peanut butter. I eat peanut butter. I can't do Bill Walton.
You do not have a good Bill Walton.
I do not.
You're better.
I
off
should have
just
practiced that before the show.
a little more Aussie Jason would be better than Bill.
Oh, I know. The Bill Walton impression is ass, mate. Couch on fire. Jason, are you like me? Will cheer for the men's soccer team but won't watch a minute. Well, shit, yeah. I mean, the U.S. Right? I mean, why wouldn't I? I'm not going to root again. I don't care. I mean, if they win, hell yeah, I guess. I don't know. Am I rooting?
You weren't draped in an Iranian flag before their last game.
Iran. No, I was not. No. Couch on fire. What's the floor and ceiling of the MSU basketball team at this juncture?
Well, the floor is if they continue to have injuries and they look fatigued and they lose confidence at some point, the floor is the NIT. It really is if they don't stay healthy. The ceiling is something like top couple in the Big Ten, reading right there, 2 or 3, I think. And, with a bunch of other teams that are, that aren't going to run away from them, and getting to the second weekend and having a really interesting game against the top seed is, say they're a 5 seed, they're playing a 1, because we've seen them play talented teams. And I think with these guards, they can be in that game, could be interesting. So their ceiling is pulling an upset, getting to like an Elite 8, being in the top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten, and their floor is the NIT. So and that's injury related too. So I think there's a pretty wide gulf right now.
Mr. Neurotic Pants. I went to the Dayton Flyers versus Western Michigan game last night. The Flyers had players from Belgium, Finland, Mongolia, and other made-up countries. Does MSU recruit as well internationally, and how do those dudes get scouted?
Usually you have a guy on your staff who's a real specialist at that, and it helps, and it makes sense. Or you hear from a guy, you got some connection. That's the way it works. And you see it with the St. Mary's coach with all the Australian players. And, I mean, that's always what happens. But MSU doesn't need that as much, and they don't have those contacts. But it's not a bad way to try to build a program, too, if you have a guy who can bring guys for you.
Next one from Neurotic Pants. Graham. After watching Dayton toy with a feisty and not untalented Western Michigan basketball team, I have to ask, why don't the universities in the MAC develop their hoops programs more? How does a small school like Dayton make Western look like a D2 squad?
Yeah, well, Dayton's in a bigger league and a better, more seasoned program right now. And the MAC basketball conversations have been going on for a long time. When I used to cover them, the conference really leaned into football in the early 2000s, and I think to their detriment. They were a great basketball league in the 90s. Look at the number of pros that were coming out, the Bonzi Wells, the Wally Zerbiaks, the Antonio Daniels, the Baby Shaq, all these guys, right? They were just a lot of those guys.
Who's Baby Shaq?
It was the guy at Ohio.
Larry Johnson?
No, fuck. Hold on.
Stacy Augman.
Baby Shaq. Hold on.
Gary Trent.
Gary Trent, thank you.
Who has a son, Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway. It was a great basketball league, multiple bids almost every year, and they've resources-wise just gotten passed by the Atlantic 10 and Missouri Valley and things like that. And so that's what it is. And schools like Western are trying to put more resources in and compete. But Steve Hawkins, who I covered for a number of years, he will tell you when he got there in 02 as an assistant or whatever it was, and 2000 as assistant, then took over in like 03, 04 through the 2008 and 9, they were like a have, the mid-major. The haves and have-nots, they had resources. By the mid-2010s, they were a have-not, and it was a real problem. And to the point that the administration in one meeting, and I shouldn't give this stuff away because I'm working on something with Hawkins about this stuff, but, I mean, they told the coaches, you don't have to win anymore. Like, that's how bad the finances were. We are cutting your budgets. We are cutting substantially. And they asked him, are you expecting us to win? And they said no. So that's how bad things got. It's about resources. And that's changed a little bit with some of the old money, the Stryker family and whatnot, and all the donations from to Western.
Neurotic Pants. Graham, would you have the chutzpah to ask Mel Tucker if he feels overpaid? I know you think he's paid the going rate, but I'd like to know what his billionaire ass thinks.
I don't know if I'd ask that. I mean,
please do.
I don't know if it's a relevant question. Like, hey, Mel, do you feel overpaid? I guess it's fair. But, I mean, it's not unfair, but it's
talk Slurry into it.
I just don't know. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll work on that. Hey, Chris, I got one for you.
Cucker Tarleson. A night with Andrew Tate and his posse of hired models, or the only reporter in the tunnel during the fracas, and you have to break it up all yourself. If unsuccessful in the tunnel, you're slapped with a $100,000 fine personally. Who's Andrew Tate?
That's what I'm looking up right now. He's a American-British internet personality and former professional kickboxer.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's hang out with that dude.
I'd rather be in the tunnel. I've had dreams about this. I think I wish I would have been there because I think
you're not breaking that shit up. So you're ready to pay $100K?
I wouldn't have broken up the Crump thing. That was far away, and that would have been
guys.
Stop it,
guys.
Stop it.
Oh my God.
No. I would have been like, hey, whoa,
hey, fellow athlete.
Whoa. Yeah, I would have got in there. And I certainly, here's the big difference. I would not have recorded it. And it's not that those guys did anything wrong, but it would not have been my instinct. I know that. I don't know how much I would have been able to prevent anything, but I would not have recorded.
Hey, guys, fellow athlete here. Calm down.
Athletic Prime talking.
Cucker Tarleson. Where does MSU get off charging me nearly $2,000 a year just to park to go to class? I pay almost $30K a year to get a mediocre education as it is. I feel like I've been made a fool by a place I loved as a kid.
You should change. I mean, Michigan State's got, I think, well thought of, and a lot of people get really good education there. So you might want to change your concentration.
But that's $2,000 for a year for parking.
That's bullshit. And there's a lot of stuff in higher ed that's just highway robbery right now for sure.
Matt C. Please do a deep dive on why you think Hogard is an NBA guard. I don't know of any lazy 6'4" unathletic guards who can't shoot that are in the NBA.
He's not an NBA guard right now. I'm just saying that we have seen elements of him that make me think he could develop into an NBA player. We saw it from Denzel Valentine to develop, and we've seen him be a force in the paint. He's going to have to shoot differently. He's going to have to be consistent. It's certainly not going to lose him this year to the NBA. But there are elements of his game that I think could develop into an NBA player. But you're right. We're not seeing it right now.
Matt C. with this one. How does Izzo keep recruiting fat, out of shape, unathletic players, Hogard, Brooks, Kohler, and Cooper? Does he think he's a good enough coach to overcome this?
Well, first of all, Carson Cooper is like lean as a rail, and he's athletic too. He's just not
stupid-looking face.
He's just
all right, couch man. Jeez.
He's just not seasoned.
Oh, yeah.
And thanks for playing that little soundbite there. Kohler's got some baby fat he's getting rid of. Brooks is a big dude, but look, he's a Michigan Mr. Basketball, 6'6" guy with great range. You don't not recruit that guy. And Hogard, I think, has been better than they thought. The premise of your question, I have some issues with.
Matt C. It's also safe to say, as though leaving 4 scholarships open on this year's team backfired. He has effectively wasted a year. Not sure many other Hall of Fame coaches are this stubborn.
Matt, see, we went from we got you positive for a while. You come back to the negative really quickly here. I think that a couple things. One, he hasn't really wasted a year. What did he waste a year? Wasting like a chance at a national championship. That was going to be hard to pull off this year. Look who he's got coming in next year. And what if he loses Booker because he goes out and gets a guy in the portal? Look at the kids he's got. I mean, the class he's got coming in is a for real class. It's a Miles Bridges, Nick Ward, Joshua Langford, Cassius Winston type class, and it may be better in certain ways. And so I don't know if he's messing around. He's doing what he thinks is best in his way, and we'll see if it works. I think it's too early to say it's backfired. Right now, certainly depth is a problem, but if they were to lose another guy or one of these injuries would be more long term, you got an issue.
Tyrone Couch up next. What is the fan base that has the worst writers and reporters? Like Michigan fans, the ones that don't know what county Michigan is in, are awful. Illinois fans are now on that list. Auburn fans are Paula Dean clones. So bad. Please don't say it's us, although we see Solari's post.
First of all, Solari is a good reporter. He really is.
Who said he isn't?
Well, he's just saying who are the worst writers and reporters, and he said we see Solari's post. So right here, Tyrone is saying that.
Your son,
the man after my name, yeah, I don't know who has worst. I know in Michigan State though, there are a lot of good reporters here and a lot of good writers and a lot of reporters. It's a crowded environment with people making pretty decent content. That's one of the reasons the Athletic pulled out. I mean, the Athletic didn't pull out of Michigan State because there's no interest in Michigan State. It's because they couldn't dominate the space or get enough of a foothold to make it profitable because there are a lot of other options. I mean, that's the quality that else is there. That was a business decision based on quality that exists throughout the rest of the beat.
Tyrone Couch with this one. Is it okay to still not like basketball? The refs the past few years have made me hate the sport. I still sat through every minute last night, and it was the team that made me feel dead inside. I'm the Lions' Jason for basketball.
I mean, I can understand why the refs there are 3 or 4 games every year where I think, why do I enjoy the sport? Because the refs do ruin it. It happens.
But at least Michigan State basketball has had success, I guess.
Well, it's usually
national championship and Final Fours. Lions, they break my heart all the time, so that's why I'm dead inside.
And I like basketball even with the refs ruining it more than I like football with the 7-minute breaks. Although there was a media timeout last night. I couldn't believe how long it was. Like, I got up, went to the bathroom, came back. It was like another 2 minutes.
Between that and the scoreboard, like going backwards, the Sky Mint level, I just was completely fucking dumbfounded. I'm like, I don't want to tweet this out because I don't know if I'm actually seeing this correctly. The scoreboard, what's going on here? Tyrone Couch, don't you think people that will mow and weed, eat in 30-degree weather deserve double? What does that mean?
Double pay? Yeah, okay.
Do you think people that will mow or weed, eat in 30-degree weather deserve double? Also, why are people still mowing? I quit the week of Halloween.
Yeah, you should be done mowing at this point.
Who's mowing?
Yeah, nobody should be mowing.
Our neighbor loves mowing. He doesn't mow. Jake Hawkins up next. It's been speculated that the MSU Board of Trustees was the reason Luke Fickell wasn't hired at MSU. If he works out at Wisconsin and Mel Tucker doesn't work out, which, FYI, I hope Tuck does, how much blame should fall on the Board of Trustees? Should they ever be allowed in the athletics decisions?
That's not what happened. And some stuff I don't have on record, but Luke Fickell was, I think, a little fickle on the MSU job, and he was technically never, that offer was never made to him. So it's not as clear cut as that, but it had nothing to do with the Board of Trustees in terms of what I know, at least.
Next one from Jake. Even if by some miracle MSU has a chance to go to the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, do you still think they should say no to that? And are you confident they can still land a pretty good recruiting class since they put all of their eggs in that basket?
I'm confident it'll be okay because they're going to have at least, what do they have, like 9 4-star guys or 10 4-star guys right now? I mean, I'm confident it'll be okay. Will it be what they need to really elevate the program? I'm not confident in that. The Quick Lane Bowl thing, I don't know. I think, they need to be done.
No.
Season needs to be over.
Done.
And the players want it to be done, I believe, too. And they put everything they had. They got close against Penn State. They didn't have enough. That was their last stand.
We talk about practices, though, and they don't have enough guys to practice.
Yeah.
So what would be the point? Next one from the Hawk. How many MSU football players with any extra eligibility left will be back next season? Is hoping for 8-4 next season too high of expectations?
I don't think hoping for it's too bad. I mean, 8-4 should be, I think it's a reasonable hope next year, that they overachieve a little bit, that they find some things that they're better than you think, and they are an 8-win team, that late in the season you're hoping for 9 wins.
It's how is the 8-4 season played out?
Yeah.
You can say 8-4 blindly, but how does it happen?
And ultimately, a 6-6 team that maximizes its opportunities can sometimes get to 8-4. And so that's what you need from them.
Next one from Jake. Do you anticipate any of the suspended MSU players possibly transferring?
I would be surprised if Crump plays at Michigan State again, but I don't know with the other kids.
Next one from Jake. What is it about Mike Bray that makes Notre Dame keep him as a head men's basketball coach despite no Final Fours?
Not giving a shit about basketball. That's where it starts. They are comfortable with a guy who wins enough, doesn't embarrass the school. They like him, easy to deal with.
Like Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah. The difference is that Pat Fitzgerald did something that really has never been, I guess Randy Walker and people did it before, but like Mike, there are people who could win at Notre Dame as well as Mike Bray. The thing that would scare Northwestern is I don't know that Northwestern knows if there's anybody else who can win at this. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
Like if you're Northwestern, you're like, I know he's bad right now.
If they keep Fitzgerald, everyone will go, I see why.
Well, the other thing,
it's not a big deal.
You're scared if you're Northwestern. At Stanford has this issue even more. But in the new transfer portal NIL era, where you don't have a major passionate fan base, you don't take a lot of transfers as it is, you got problems. And so you're a little scared right now, and I don't know if you want that uncertainty anyway. You want to figure it out if you can do it with a Pat Fitzgerald.
Next one from Jake. Have you been to Voodoo Donuts out in Portland, Oregon, that Bill Walton always brags and talks about? If so, how do they compare to Groovy Donuts?
I wouldn't cheat on Groovy Donuts like that. No, if I did, I thought about it when I was out there, but I didn't have a Groovy Donut shirt with me, so I did not step in. I've
stay loyal.
I've heard from maybe Meebe and other people that they're overrated. And you know one thing about Groovy Donuts? Not overrated. Properly rated, outstanding, underrated, if anything.
Properly rated, underrated. Hans Jurgent up next. Ever had an apple cider ice cream float? The combo of artificial and natural sugars are an orgy of sweetness in your mouth.
I've had a lot of different ice cream floats, but never an apple cider one.
Jesus. No. I feel like I have to take insulin just reading that.
I've done a Coke float, which is actually pretty good. Diet Coke float.
Diet Coke float?
I've done both, but Diet Coke float.
Jesus, that's the fattest thing ever.
No,
Why
it's
wouldn't
not.
you just get a Coke?
Because it's an extra 150 calories. And it's
what
more
about
sugar.
the ice cream?
Well, the ice cream's got some, yeah, for sure.
All right. Hans, why doesn't the U.S. national team have a big dude that scores and defends headers?
They could use it, I guess. They don't. They just don't right now. But I thought, I thought they were okay defensively in the last game. They had two defensive backs who had not played a lot together, and I thought we're pretty good.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy up next. Can you rank all the coaches at MSU right now from best on down?
Well, I mean, you're going to give Izzo the nod, right? Because he's just done it repeatedly, and he's done it so often, so it's Izzo 1. And we'll just I think number 2 would have to go of the major programs, and we don't know what Mel Tucker is. And Adam Nightingale is just lightning in a bottle right now, but people thought that was Mel Tucker at one point. But let's give Nightingale 2. Let's give Susie Merchant 3, Mel Tucker 4. Let's go in that order. No?
All right.
Sorry, I don't know.
That doesn't sound great.
I don't have any fucking. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Jeez. Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Who gets injured next on the basketball team?
It's got to be Steven Izzo in a bowling accident. That's what I'm thinking.
That's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy. What's the worst smell you've ever smelled?
You have a worse smell?
I had a roommate named Jeff back in the day, and we would watch on Football Sunday. We would just get 30 packs of beer and it was back when we were in our early 20s, and we had a bet who could drink a 30-pack of Milwaukee's Best, and we had 2 teams, and he and I were on the same team, and he carried us. He drank like 27 beers or something crazy, and then absolutely puked his brains out in our bathroom. And then I had to make sure he was okay, so I knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and it was like one of the deadliest smells I've ever smelled. I didn't know what was. I thought someone was dead in there. And I look at him, I'm like, dude, are you all right? And he's like, I need ham buddies. And I go, ham buddies? They were the things at QD. We would get ham because we had a QD right around the corner, and he would get ham buddies. I'm like, dude, you want to eat fucking. So we ate ham buddies. So I threw him in there and shut the door.
Oh, God.
It was like sprayed. He ate ham buddies on the floor of the bathroom. It was one of the worst smells ever.
That is, I can't top that. I will say that one thing that's been driving me nuts is when people pass gas on an airplane, and it just happens all the time. And you're not, and it's all.
But can you really blame someone though?
No,
I mean,
it's but don't,
I'm ripping ass tomorrow morning.
If you're gonna get on a flight, watch what you eat before you do it. No fiber. And then I'd say the worst one I had, and I can't even remember where we ate, but it was like leftovers that we put in a car after a meal out, and then went to bars all night, and then came back to the car, went somewhere, went to a game, whatever it was like 4 hours of leftover food sitting in a car, and it smelled like a dead diaper.
Dead diaper?
I don't know. I don't want to end the show this way. It was one of the worst.
Let me ask you, did you see the Odell Beckham thing, speaking of flying?
I heard about it.
Well, let me ask you,
yeah.
What level of irate would you get to if you had to sit on the plane for like an hour and a half, then deplane because of someone didn't want to get off properly.
I'd be fucking annoyed.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I don't know how you don't read about that. I would just go out of my mind.
Yeah. No, that's you just don't be that guy.
There are 2 people on the plane that wouldn't get off and made the whole plane get off. I mean, dude, I just would lose my shit. Upper Deck Jerk guy. Oh, the last one here. Has Jason learned how to pronounce superfluous yet?
Yes, he just did.
Hell yeah. About time.
Nailed it. Well done, man.
Superfluous.
We appreciate all of you and for producing our show and all of your Twitter questions. Some fantastic stuff. I'm sorry we didn't answer them better. My answers at the beginning were ass, but I was trying to compile a lot of thoughts at once, and hopefully it made some level of sense. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that is Thursday through Sunday, and that's on the East Lansing location on Lake Lansing Road and also in Williamston. We appreciate Skymint, and Skymint can get you through any day, any family occasion, any tough month, whatever it might be. Go to skymint.com for location information and daily specials. And we appreciate Firekeepers, the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Play the games with us. Play the World Cup games. Lose money with me. We will be back on Tuesday night, and we'll do some hot takes and all that stuff. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.